I don't know if the audience knows this or not. It happened, in the time that you will be seeing this. This happened a few weeks ago at this point. But Michael Keaton was going to be in 3 new movies. And he was going to play Batman in 3 new movies. And we get the news that he's being written out of the second Aquaman, being replaced with Ben Affleck. And people went, okay, yeah, but he was probably in it, just like a very small amount.
Short cameo.
Yeah, and then
probably a cameo.
And then they canceled the Batgirl movie, which he was in more of, and yeah.
I think they might cancel the Flash movie because of Ezra Miller.
They went with option.
They went
one.
with option A.
They went with option
A. Ezra Miller, they're doing an apology tour.
Apology tour.
For the uninitiated, there was a leak a few days ago that said that WBD was discussing 3 options with Ezra Miller. They were discussing Ezra Miller apologizes, and they just try to make it go away and just try to make.
There was the never mention it and just release it.
That was the second option, and then the third option was scrap it entirely. And they motherfucking go with option one, the one that everybody was like, "Oh, well, obviously they're not going to do option one."
That's the most
because at this rate, you cannot possibly predict what Warner Brothers Discovery is going to do.
You're just going to see a video of Ezra Miller uploaded to YouTube, just them getting.
WB Discovery just being a completely chaotic neutral
guys.
out here today.
I've been thinking about this for a while now, and it's been weighing heavy on me. I need to apologize. Just like one of those, dude. It's like a YouTuber apology. It's just what it's gonna be.
100%. It's like at this point, Ezra Miller could. Spoiler alert for we need to talk about Kevin.
Yeah, that's a spoiler. I haven't seen that movie, Jesse.
Well, then why didn't you fucking say anything?
Why did you say it? This is not an episode about what we need to talk about Kevin.
Also, because Jesse,
that's what the movie's about.
You were like spoiler alert, and then went directly into the spoiler, so it's not like you really gave me.
But also, that's just the movie.
One time you give a spoiler alert where it matters, son of a bitch.
The movie it doesn't matter.
I'm giving him shit. Let me give him shit.
No, actually, I would very much appreciate it if you stopped
I'm playing into his degradation kink.
I don't have a degradation kink.
That's
You're just a fucking asshole.
That's part of it for him.
Jesse, not yet.
It's the role play. He doesn't want to break the illusion.
Shut the fuck up. I genuinely hate this shit.
You only get a degradation kink.
Stop.
Once
you asshat.
Once you get degraded enough.
You shut your fucking mouth.
Damn, okay.
Anyway.
We need to talk about Jesse.
That's the sequel. Yeah.
We need to talk.
I get to be Tilda Swinton. Actually, you kind of look like the male version of Tilda Swinton.
I do. Thank you.
You do,
and that's why I want her to play Dr. Doom.
And you should take that 100% as a compliment.
I do.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Tilda Swinton's hot.
Yeah.
For the record, the only
she made a really hot Bob Dylan, right? Did she play Bob Dylan?
Yeah. Oh no, wait, I think that was Kate Blanchett.
It was.
It was Kate Blanchett.
It's Kate Blanchett.
But Tilda Swinton plays Gabriel in one of the movies that has Gabriel the angel in it.
Constantine.
Mm-hmm. And Tilda Swinton also plays the gender-bending Orlando in the movie Orlando, and that's a phenomenal fucking little movie. Yes, both the male version and the female version of Orlando are both incredibly hot characters. Very sexy. There's a reason the Queen of England falls in love with Orlando. Yeah. And I will stop talking about this very obscure, gay-ass movie. Very gay movie.
I have no idea what it's about, but just based off what you said,
it's a fucking weird movie.
It is a weird-ass movie.
It's a bizarre movie, dude.
Speaking of Tilda Swinton and weird movies, did any of you guys see the trailer for, what is it, 1,000 Years of Longing?
Yeah. It's
3,000
George Miller's new movie.
It looks sick.
It's like...
It's getting noble.
She accidentally opens a genie lamp that she thought was like a dildo that she bought. She's cleaning it.
It's horny Aladdin.
It's horny Aladdin.
I saw a commercial for it that said, it's like Aladdin for adults. And I said, okay, I'm not going to watch this movie.
The movie, also what's weird, that movie comes out in like 2 or 3 weeks. It's by George Miller, the guy who directed Mad Max Fury Road, a movie that most people consider to be one of the greatest movies of the 2010s. This movie is getting zero marketing,
Zero press.
zero hype.
It's got
nothing.
Idris Elba and Tilda Swinton as the two
it's
leads.
very odd.
Here's the thing. It's a personal project from George Miller.
Was it
it's
a-
not based off an IP or a superhero project. It's a weird, unconventional premise that you can't really market. So, of course, studios would be like, just let it fucking die.
But you are right about that. But the fact that even people on like film centric things like Letterboxd and especially like film Twitter and stuff,
Yeah.
I don't even see them talking
No
about
one's
it.
no one's talking about it.
It's very bizarre.
We need
Yeah.
to talk about.
I see some people.
3,000 years.
I see some people like talking about like, oh, this is really good. You should go see it, but it's nowhere near as much as like, fucking Cronenberg. What was the new Cronenberg movie?
Crimes of the Future.
Crimes of the Future. You
Well,
saw that. How was it?
that played at some film. That played at Cannes
well,
and
here-
film festivals. That got some buzz. Movie
Well,
was
so did 3,000 Years of
No.
Longing. It
movie
played at
was
film
good, by the
festivals.
way.
Here's the thing with 3,000 Years of Longing. George Miller's non-Mad Max style is very popular, and people
Yeah.
really like it. What are the non-Mad Max movies that he's really known for?
Babe,
Babe, Pagan City,
Yeah.
Happy Feet.
Yep.
If this movie was marketed for kids,
Lorenzo's
if it was,
Oil?
if it was
Mm-hmm.
made for kids, it would probably be.
George Miller's had a very interesting film. We'll talk about that at some point because I know
Yeah.
at
I've
least
got-
I have Mad Max Fury Road on my list.
I think I
So
have.
we won't get into that right
You
now.
got.
But
I think you have all of the Mad Max movies besides Thunderdome on
Yeah,
yours.
all
right?
of them besides Thunderdome, and I still like Thunderdome. I like it a lot, but it's just like
I don't know
Easily
how
the
I feel
weakest of the
about
four.
Lorenzo's Oil.
I've never seen
It's.
it.
I saw it for a class, like a,
Same.
It's
a
okay.
biology class
It's
or
all right.
something.
I don't really
It's-
care for it.
It's
It's
like
just
they,
a shitty drama.
it's like they take out his spinal fluid or whatever,
Yep.
and it's got like the cure for AIDS or something.
No, it's
Not for
No,
AIDS.
it's
no. So it's like this kid has this debilitating disease, and they essentially it's about finding not a cure for it, but a way to treat it and make it
yeah,
non-painful.
it's like about stem cells, isn't it?
Okay.
Yeah.
pretty much.
So George Miller releases Mad Max Fury Road in the year 2015. Same year as The Revenant, directed by the director of today's film that we're discussing, Birdman.
which has Michael Keaton, who I brought up
parentheses and the unexpected virtue of ignorance.
earlier. Yes.
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 And Iñárritu won his second consecutive Best Director Oscar that year for The Revenant. When I think most people, at the time and even now, would say it should have gone to George Miller.
Oh,
yeah.
100%.
Fury Road.
Well, because Iñárritu won the year before. It's very rare. I think that I could be wrong about this, but that's the first time. Again, I could be wrong about this. That the Academy has awarded a Best Director to the same director 2 consecutive years.
Well,
And-
usually most directors don't have like movies back to back
Yeah.
like that are
Yeah.
Oscar worthy.
I don't think The Revenant's that.
I don't
good.
think
I
it
don't
is. I
either.
think it's a
I
gimmick.
It's a very pretty movie, definitely.
I
But
saw The Revenant in theaters. It's not bad. I
Yeah,
liked it,
yeah,
but
but,
definitely
like,
not Oscar worthy.
well, one of the things
it
that,
tries
like,
to be, but yeah.
Yeah, it was a vehicle for DiCaprio more than anything.
and he
It was-
finally got his Oscar. Although
And in that regard,
was-
I respect it.
that Oscar win is definitely a legacy
It's a
because
legacy.
there's at least 5 other performances I can point to being like that's a much better performance.
Yeah,
And a much because you got Catch Me If You Can, you've got The Wolf of Wall Street, which is I still think is a great performance.
You
Django
got What's
Unchained.
Eating Gilbert Grape.
Okay, we're gonna not talk about that one.
Was nominated for that one.
Let's
his
not
first
talk about.
nomination.
We don't need to talk about Gilbert Grape, my favorite movie starring Ezra Miller.
Okay, so Iñárritu, a guy who up until Birdman was Alejandro Iñárritu, I should say. Alejandro González Iñárritu, I think that's his name. Was a Mexican filmmaker who was a name that most people here didn't really know up until I would say Birdman.
Oh, yeah.
Like he did have a movie that did get some okay success, mostly in the film circuit scene in 2010 called Beautiful, which stars Javier Bardem. And I think that was his first collaboration with the cinematographer for this movie, Emmanuel Lubezki.
He was
I ha-
considered one of the greatest working like cinematographers. right now,
100%. I mean, he did do the cinematography for the Cat in the Hat movie, and that speaks
Yeah, I
for
mean
itself.
it's a phenomenal film, as we all know. It's gonna,
Although
it's 99 of my 100 slots.
weird connection with that movie though, with Cat in the Hat and also Emmanuel Lubezki. You can draw a line from that movie to also 2 movies over there as well.
Oh, yeah,
Tim
yeah.
Burton. So
Yeah.
I see you giving me a look, Jesse. Hold
Yeah,
on, give me a sec.
okay.
Give me a sec. Okay, so Cat in the Hat is directed by Bo Welch, who I think has only directed Cat in the Hat. You know, but
Yeah, I'd give
Or
up
at least
that
that
one
was his
too.
debut, at least.
he was a production designer for a few decades in
Yeah.
Hollywood, and he was a production designer most known for Tim Burton. So if you've ever watched The Cat in the Hat and you go, why does this look a little Tim Burton-y? Well, that's because Bo Welch directed it.
Was he PD on that movie too, or did he outsource it?
No, he did not. Directors don't usually do that.
Yeah.
They usually outsource that to someone
That
else.
would be.
He probably got like his assistant PD or something.
Yeah.
or
like
someone.
I imagine
whatever he
I imagine
knows.
like if you have a production design background, you might have a hand in that. Like Robert Eggers, I know definitely has.
He has
you
a
know,
lot of good. Well, it's not even necessarily that like he's doing it himself. It's that they have stronger opinions about it because they
Yeah.
understand how it works more.
Wait,
Yeah.
yeah, because Eggers was PD before
Yeah.
he directed, right?
Yeah, he was.
That's very interesting.
He's the worst of the two previous PD now directors.
Who's the other one?
Bo Walsh.
Bo Walsh.
There's a lot more than just that
He's-
I can
yeah,
show you,
yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah,
He's the worst of the two. Wait,
he's
It was
memeing.
a memeing, dude.
He's
You're
memeing.
Come on. Drink your
I
beer.
thought you meant. Okay,
Drink
first-
your beer.
No, okay, fuck it. Go ahead.
All right. Anyways, so Alejandro Iñárritu.
fuck up, you stupid, filthy animal.
What the fuck was that?
That's me.
It's Birdman.
That's
It's
me doing Birdman. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And
off right now on the podcast.
Jerk off. Pull your dick out. You know you want to. Come on, you want to have sex with your daughter. You know you do.
Okay, hold on.
Whoa,
Wait, what
yeah.
the fuck?
Hang on. We're talking about Birdman.
Oh,
not-
God, what the fuck? You just spoiled. You
Jesse-
can't just
And
spoil. Why?
An actual
Hold on.
twist ending.
Hold on.
Jesse-
That's getting cut out, by the way.
I
also
figured,
because
I
that
figured.
movie is on my list, we'll talk about.
Yes,
that
we're gonna talk about
So.
that. Is
I
Jesse,
figured we'd all
what?
seen it.
We have.
There's
but
an audience, Jesse.
Okay.
Who hasn't? You can't just spoil shit like
You
that.
can't
All right,
spoil every
fine.
movie. If we talk about a movie besides the one we're watching, you can't be spoiling other movies
I
unless
was,
you
I was
previously
trying,
discussed them on
for the
podcast.
record, I was trying to think of literally any other movie where.
We just there aren't very many, to be fair. Like unless you count pornography, which is plenty of this.
Yeah, well, I don't memorize the titles of porn.
I'm
Well-
honestly fine with this. I was gonna take this into a different bit, but you guys derailed it in a really negative direction. So
Okay,
the whole thing
so-
has to come out. So I'm fine with that.
And Iñárritu, another interesting thing about him is, so as I mentioned before, he is a Mexican director. Came up in the same scene as two contemporaries and good friends, Alfonso Cuarón. Most famous director of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Still, I think everyone agrees the best Harry Potter movie.
by
far.
certain,
And of
for
course,
certain.
100%.
A movie, Children of Men, a movie we will discuss at some
yeah.
point because it is on my list.
It's on my
Beautiful
list as
movie.
well.
We
Amazing
will not
movie.
discuss spoilers about that movie right now.
Okay, they don't have any context for that.
He did.
Sure. But
He also made Gravity.
he also,
And
he won his first directing Oscar for Gravity. The year before, Iñárritu won for Birdman in 2013.
And then you got the third homie, Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah, they're called the Three Amigos. I don't know who gave him that nickname. I think it was a nickname they gave.
I think it was themselves.
Yeah, it's Iñárritu, Alfonso Cuarón, and Guillermo del Toro, who was I would say of the three, the biggest name of the three.
is Del Toro.
Because you got Hellboy,
more commercial success than the
you got
other
the two Hellboy movies. You
Blade
got
2.
Crimson Peak. You got Blade 2,
Pacific
Crimson
fucking
Chronos,
Rim.
Pacific Rim. The movie he finally won his Oscar for, deservedly, Shape of Water.
Yep.
Did he direct Mimic or did he just work
He
on it?
directed Mimic.
directed
That was
Mimic, yeah.
his second movie, I think.
What was it?
Chronos was his first
Chronos.
film. Yeah.
Oh, did we mention Pan's Labyrinth?
Pan's Labyrinth.
Pan's
Pan's
Labyrinth
Labyrinth
is
is
hard.
Very
a
based
movie,
movie.
another movie on my list we'll discuss at some point.
Yeah.
Beautiful movie.
We're going to discuss a lot of Del Toro
Yeah,
because
Del-
Pacific Rim's on my list.
Yeah, Del Toro is a great director. For me, out of the three Amigos, out of all three of them, my favorite personally is Alfonso Cuarón.
Same.
Because
Yeah,
I don't
same.
know, and we're going to discuss the fact that this whole movie is a long take and that and whatnot, but
That's Emmanuel Lubezki's. That's like his. It's kind of his bread and butter.
it's
That's what
better
he's known
about it. But
for,
like
yeah.
for me, like when it comes to the three of them doing long takes of their movies, I think that out of the three of them, Cuarón does it best.
Mm-hmm.
But it is really well done in this movie, and we'll discuss that. Is there anything else we need to talk? Right off the bat, we should probably mention Michael Keaton's career.
yeah.
Because this whole movie kind of revolves around like
This movie has a kind of a running meta commentary, I guess I would say, when it comes to Michael Keaton's career, because Michael Keaton and his characters playing Regan are very, very similar, and that's 100% intentional. And so for those of you out there who don't know much about Michael Keaton outside of just Batman, the two Batman movies over there, in fact, in the movie Birdman, they specifically mention he says I haven't played Birdman since 1992. That was the year Batman Returns came out, and that was the last time, at least as of now, that he has played Batman. So Michael Keaton, unlike lot of people don't know this. I didn't actually know this myself until recently. He started off his career as a stand-up comedian.
Yeah, I did not know that at
Yeah.
all.
I knew that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, a lot of his stand-up comedy is extremely hard to find. This was the late 70s. They were not filming stand-up shows back
No.
then.
I mean, VHS cameras are really what led to people filming.
But like, if you
sets.
want a good idea of what his stand-up comedy is like, apparently Norm Macdonald cites him as a very big influence on him. So if you like Norm Macdonald, you'll
I'm a
probably like
huge
Michael
Norm
Keaton.
fan.
Now
Yeah.
there is one.
R.I.P.
There is,
R.I.P. to a legend.
R.I.P. There was one Michael Keaton joke I heard about through this other film podcast I listened to called the Blank Check Podcast. This is not a sponsorship or anything. I just like their podcast.
They
Shut
should
up,
pay
Blank
us
Check.
though. I'm kidding.
Sure, but like,
Give me a blank check.
There's a joke. There's a joke I learned from that podcast about Michael Keaton, and I'm gonna say the joke, and I'm gonna totally butcher it because I don't really remember it. So it's like this is a joke he says where he's like, so I was flying to Minnesota, and when we were landing in Minneapolis, the flight attendant gets on the intercom, and she's like, well, the temperature in Minneapolis is 5 degrees, and he goes, well, with degrees that low, why even have any? It's like I said, I may have butchered it.
And it becomes
but-
apparent that like, his career on like sitcoms and like TV comedy or like comedies after that, he was often typecast as like a corny dad,
Yeah.
and stuff. Which I mean, famously when he was cast in Batman, people were like, "Really, Mr. Mom is
Yeah.
playing Batman?" There was actually like what
There was a-
30,000 people wrote in letters to,
There was
a-
to the
there was a
studio
we'll
saying,
talk about that.
There
"What
was
are
a-
you doing?"
There was a petition
yeah.
proving that comic book fans have never changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've always been the same.
I mean,
They've always been
Good-
scum.
Good to know that they've always been self-entitled little babies.
But
Anyway, and the pipeline back then for stand-up comedians used to be, if you did stand-up and you did it for a while and you got discovered, you would eventually go on to become guest stars on famous sitcoms. Michael Keaton is no different. He was on a lot, but I would say the most prominent ones are the Mary Tyler Moore Show,
yeah, that's a big one.
when he was in like 1 or 2 episodes. A show called Working Stiffs, which I've never seen, but I have heard about it.
I've heard about it. Yeah.
And
I have a Working Stiff.
his first TV credit, which this is on IMDb, so I don't know how accurate this is. 'Cause people can just add stuff on there. Apparently, his first TV credit is on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. He played a panda or something. I don't
God,
know.
I hope he did an offensive Chinese accent.
I hope not.
I hope he
not.
did.
And okay, so he does that for a while, and then in 1983 he stars in the movie that really his career really takes off in Mr. Mom. The movie is a huge hit. Michael Keaton becomes a big name overnight.
Yeah.
But I think the fear of being typecast.
and that's a very common thing with superhero movies is the fear of being
Yeah.
typecast.
Oh, yeah.
And me and Jesse have a little something
Yeah.
prepared about that.
And so he goes and tries to do some totally different roles to try to act against being typecast. And because of that, he was on a bunch of very mediocre to bad movies after that, most of which I can't really even name. But there was one that was probably the most infamous called Gung-Ho. Have you guys ever heard of this
I've
movie?
heard of it. I've never seen
It
it.
came
I
out in
know the
1984.
G.I. Joe.
In 1984, it's not G.I. Joe, sadly. 1984, 1985. It's a movie that I 100% could not get made now, and that's for the best. It's very much a product of the 1980s because it's very much a
Who's it disparaging?
Japanese people.
I knew he was going to do an offensive Asian accent at some point. Let's go.
No. He's as far as I've never seen it, but as far as I'm aware, he doesn't. But they have the Japanese actors, those poor Japanese actors. They have them playing really offensive stereotypes.
You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think I've ever seen Gung-Ho, but I did a project in college talking about the Yellow Peril period in Hollywood, and like it was all like about like Asian representation in media. And when researching like peer-reviewed papers for sources, one of the movies that was brought up was the movie Gung-Ho. Mm-hmm. So you know what? Funny enough, that's why I know that movie. I never saw it, but it was referenced quite a lot by a lot of sociologists.
Yeah, Gung-Ho, I'm sure, is incredibly offensive.
Oh, yeah.
But at least there's actual Asian people and not John Wayne playing Genghis Khan.
That's a Oof, wow.
Mickey Rooney.
Watch, I'm gonna watch
if it makes you
Gung-Ho,
feel-
and it's gonna just be nothing but white people
This-
doing like.
The only
fucking-
real silver lining to that is his pride and hubris is ultimately what got him killed in that movie. Sadly, a bunch of other people had to die with him because they shot that movie downwind from a nuclear testing site. So everybody who worked on the movie got cancer. Very sad. Anyway, so in 19...
Not for John Wayne. He's a piece of shit. Glad you're dead.
We got so much drum roll build up into this discussion, Birdman.
So very appropriate. I see what you did there, Jacob. In 1988, Michael Keaton stars in what I would say is probably one of his biggest roles besides Batman, of course, where he plays the big stinker himself, Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
A movie that is on my list. Movie on my list.
Beetlejuice is on your list?
It is.
No shit.
It
Okay.
is. I recently I went back and rewatched it a few months ago.
You better believe Beetlejuice
And that
is on
movie,
your list.
that movie,
You just watch me go. Wait, wrong movie.
yeah, that movie is great, and it's
Oh, come on. Let me
it's
let me
such-
fuck you. You're 14. I'm
it's such a-
1,000. Let's go.
And he gets such a great comedic performance in that movie. Let's not discuss too much of it now. We'll discuss it.
You know
later.
what? Real
But
quick side note, we were just a quick thing. The voice he does in Birdman is the Birdman voice. It does sound less like his Batman. It sounds more like his Beetlejuice voice. Now that I'm thinking about it,
It does.
it does sound like Beetlejuice. Continue.
And then of course, Beetlejuice, directed by Tim Burton, and because of the overwhelming success of Beetlejuice, Tim Burton gets the job to direct Batman, and pretty much the only guy he had in mind to play Batman / Bruce Wayne in that movie was Michael Keaton. The studio, as you can imagine, was a little hesitant about it. They were like, Michael Keaton, Mr. Mom, Beetlejuice? I don't know about that.
We want Michael
Well,
Douglas.
also, wasn't he like 35 at the time
Yeah.
or something like
Yeah.
that? And like, yes, okay. Most of the time, Batman has been played by people who are like 35. But you got to think of it like 1989, studios doing an adaptation of Batman for the first time as like a feature film. Well, I guess technically the Batman movie from the 60s, but whatever. You would think that like, yeah, you'd want like a hot, young Hollywood A-lister to play Batman.
Because Adam West was fucking sexy back in the 60s when he was Batman.
Yeah, exactly.
We want Michael Douglas to play Batman.
I actually think he was a name that was thrown around at the
I
time.
mean, that makes sense. 1989, it makes sense.
because this was now I think Wall Street I think came out around that time. Gordon Gekko, of course, is and so he gets cast as Batman. Of course, as we briefly mentioned earlier, the fans didn't like that. They sent letters to Warner Brothers saying, no, not Mr. Mom, not Michael Keaton. Those people, those fans, those idiot fans, as usually turns out to be the case, they were wrong.
Wrong, yeah.
That movie comes out as a huge hit. Michael Keaton becomes a pretty much overnight big movie star for the second time. It really like revitalizes his career. Beetlejuice, you could argue, maybe kind of did that before Batman. But Batman was a much bigger. Batman was a much bigger hit than Beetlejuice was.
You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
Come on!
And then,
Let's get nuts.
And then he follows that up 3 years later with 1992's Batman Returns. Very briefly, because I don't think we'll really get to talk about the Tim Burton Batman movies again. I just want to say Batman 89 it's an okay movie. It's a Batman movie that happens to be directed by Tim Burton.
Batman Returns is a fucking fantastic movie.
But Batman Returns is a Tim Burton movie with Batman characters in it.
Yeah, it just happens.
And I gotta
in
say,
it.
as I've gotten older, I have to say I kind of prefer Batman Returns over Batman.
It's better. It's just better.
I just respect how weird and
It
horny that
also
movie
just-
is.
so horny, dude.
Visually speaking, it looks so much better.
Also,
than
it's a Christmas movie
yeah.
too.
It's ridiculous.
I've never seen either of the Burton
He also
Batman.
kills people.
I've never
Yes,
seen
you have.
He straight
No,
up
you
fucking
didn't let
kills
me
people.
fucking
Oh, okay.
finish.
Okay,
He lights
sorry,
a man on fire.
Dynamite.
I've never seen either of the Burton Batman movies all the way through, but I respect Batman 89 because like I can't think of a lot of movies back then that had that much like atmosphere and just very distinct
And that the
visual
art,
style.
the sort of the Art Deco
Art
style
Deco
for
influence,
Gotham.
yeah.
Like in my opinion, the way Gotham City looks in Batman 89 and
very
Returns,
thanks
it's still I think it's still the best.
It's still
Yeah.
the best. Well,
Rick-
it was so much like Tim Burton's like influence with like how he did Batman in 89 and then 92 is what influenced the designs for the Batman the Animated Series. And ever since the animated series, that's what everyone defaults to Gotham in their minds.
Yeah.
And so, like,
Even-
as much
even
as we
the
give credit to the animated series, that was ultimately, like, Burton before that.
And like even the newer Batman movies, like Nolan, you could argue is just Chicago.
It's just
'cause it is
Chicago,
just
yeah.
Chicago.
But what about the Birdman movies?
But what about the Birdman movies?
So, yeah.
What about the Birdman movies? Because we still have not gotten to the discussion of Birdman yet.
We're getting there.
Michael
we're,
Keaton-
we're almost there. We're
Michael
almost,
Keaton
we're-
plays. Well, we're not almost there because once you have a thing, I have a thing.
Yeah.
So
We're-
at the end of your
No,
thing,
it's
I
he
have
has
a
it.
thing.
All right, I'm gonna try to speed through the rest of this because we're only in 1992. We gotta get to 2014. Okay.
Just, yeah,
So-
we don't have to, just
so-
don't editorialize the rest of these.
Yeah, because everything after Batman Returns, he kind of returns to what he did before Beetlejuice, where he kind of just mediocre to bad stuff. A lot of these movies I never seen or heard of.
Jack Frost.
Dude, just start
Well,
listing
but
these.
also much
Jack
like
Frost is good.
much like before, he also returns to TV, does some episodes of sitcom.
Yeah.
And he was on an episode of Frasier. He's on an episode of King of the Hill. He's on an episode of The Simpsons.
Okay, well, The Simpsons
Yeah.
I knew, but he's in fucking King of the Hill. Hell
Yeah.
Oh,
And I would say the most prominent films that he was in, pretty much from Batman Returns to Birdman, are Jackie Brown. He plays a very small part in Jackie Brown.
Never seen it.
Jack Frost, of course, which you mentioned before. What a weird movie.
The other guys.
It's got Bobby B in it, Robert Baratheon. Anyway, Herbie Fully Loaded, where she plays
Lindsay Lohan's dad.
yeah, Lindsay Lohan's
Yeah.
dad.
Fuck, he is an Herbie.
Yeah.
Yep, he's the dad. Goes
And
back
then-
to playing dads in
Yep.
things.
And then he's in Cars, where he plays
Hicks.
Chick Hicks, the like rival. He has like a mustache too.
That was fucking Michael
Yeah, that was
Keaton.
Michael
Yep,
Keaton.
that was
yep.
Michael
Good
Keaton.
chigga. Good chigga.
And then 2010, he played Ken famously in Toy Story 3.
Yeah,
What?
that was Michael Keaton.
That was Michael Keaton.
You're
yeah.
fucking me in the ass right now.
Yeah,
and then-
yeah,
and
yeah.
then- and
No,
then,
we can,
uh,
just not on camera.
In 2014, the exact same year this movie came out, he was in the RoboCop remake.
He's also in the
Which
other
was a
guys.
bad
the other,
movie.
Oh
he
yeah,
was
the other
good
guys.
in it.
Yeah.
I forgot he was
He's
in that movie.
hysterical in
Yeah,
that
Yeah.
he's very
Yep.
funny in that movie.
Don't go chasing waterfalls.
I want to just say one thing about the RoboCop remake.
You keep
It
quoting
sucks.
TLC.
It is bad.
What's TLC?
Has ambition. Wanted to try something, but sucks. Michael Keaton's very good in it, though.
Okay,
As is
so
Jackie Earle
so sorry for that long primer, but that primer I feel like it was
It's
crucial.
kind of needed
Well-
because it's what the movie's about.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
like his career heavily.
but
One of many things.
I have something to say.
Go ahead,
And
give us the skinny, Jacob.
I tasked myself with the question of after we watched the movie, why Birdman? Why did he make Birdman
yeah,
specifically?
it makes sense why he cast Keaton, but why did Inarati?
Yeah. Was Keaton his dream character?
Mm-hmm.
Was it because he was a Michael Keaton fan? Was it because he was a fan of those Batman movies? What was it? And the answer is strangely unsatisfying. You really think that there's going to be some kind of like, you hear generally the story broken up into out of order bits, and you think it's going to be there's going to be like a moment where he steps outside and he sees a billboard for the latest Batman movie and he goes, ugh. And he just has this realization and
or
this idea.
his career felt like something similar.
Or he was struggling, or like he was gonna do a movie and then that movie fell through because the superhero movie was getting made instead and was shooting in the same location. You expect something like that. There's nothing like that. He answers it truthfully, but like he was approaching his 50s as he was making the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And as he was getting to that process of making the movie, he was in a very cynical part of his life where everything he viewed about the world was bad and he hated just about everything. And he was like, it was a very tough time for me, but I wanted to channel it into art. And so that period of time was 2008 to 2014. Which is the rise of superhero movies.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
at being somebody who makes movies, he was just very frustrated with that being as predominant as it was.
I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
And he said in general, he was just feeling really cynical and he just really just despised the state of the world.
And he almost like as a point during this movie, he makes the point that if he really wanted to, he could make the same kind of, in his eyes, garbage that they're making. Because he has that whole like fantasy sequence
And
that
it's
turns
awesome.
into, and it's awesome. It's like a cool action scene in the background.
Right.
And it's like, it proves like I could do the same
And-
shit too if I wanted.
And he talks about that. And so part of it is that he had this massive cynicism and but specifically, he wanted to tell a story about the voices in people's heads that drive them to do whatever it is they do. So it was just the superheroes were big attention grabbing things. So he was feeling he had a lot of ideas concerning that specific like cultural explosion. So he just picked that as his topic, and he, was like, I'll try to find a big name actor and I'll just suit it around them in their own past. And that was Michael Keaton. And the voices that specifically he talks about, he mentions that it's not all bad, but it's definitely not all good.
Yeah.
And that voice that essentially tells him that he can make a big blockbuster superhero movie is his ego inflating himself. And at the same time, that same voice is saying, well, you can't even make this movie. This movie's not even good. And you're going to release it? Like, what's wrong with you? And he essentially described the process of making Birdman. And you mentioned, right after we watched the use of mirrors and how they use mirrors, but he said on set they actually had a lot of mirrors and they would look at their own expressions as they were talking to each other. And he said he noticed the first time he was ever on a film set, he was smiling. And he started to push through that cynicism and he started to look at the world in a different way because...
That's a nice story, but it's also kind of sad.
It's kind of sad, but it
has a nice ending though. Like
Yeah.
it ultimately, working on this movie, which is very much, like you said, channeling all that frustration and cynicism and hatred of this fucking cape shit, is the thing that got him back into wanting to make actual fucking movies.
No. But it's not actual movies. Like that is his whole point. His point is like the reason I went so hard against superhero movies was specifically because I was angry at everything.
Yeah,
that
he was
had a lot of attention.
It's almost like needlessly hating cape shit makes you a bad person because it's not that you just hate cape shit. You hate it because you also hate other things, and you hate these things because there's something else deep down going on.
Well, that's it's such an interesting interview. It's like a 30-minute long interview. It's really interesting, but like he goes into it and he's like, life didn't get better. It didn't change, but it's not as hard to deal with because I'm looking at it differently.
He got more introspective and got it out. Well, can we talk about something?
He's neither absolving superhero movies nor is he saying like
they're art, high art or anything.
Yeah, he's just saying like it's just how you look at it.
Can I bounce that off into the subtitle of the movie? Because I kind of like, I had a realization when watching it. I've always wondered why the movie is called Birdman or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance. And what you just said there is exactly what the movie is about. The unexpected virtue of ignorance. What that means is that someone who, it's a fresh look that is oblivious or ignorant to the biases before. So he had this unexpected virtue of ignorance. He looks at himself in the mirror on set, and suddenly he's seeing it with new, fresh eyes, as if he was a different person for a little bit, or like a new perspective. A lot of this movie is about that unexpected virtue of ignorance, right? Why is it that that Riggin becomes an actor in the first place? Because Riggin gets discovered when he's doing a high school production by Raymond Carver, the author, who he's later adapting for his play. Raymond Carver was drunk and went to some random high school to watch some. It wasn't even his own play. It was just a random production.
Yeah.
And he makes a point of writing on a cocktail napkin.
Thanks for an honest performance.
And the reason why you can assume Raymond Carver went to a high school production rather than a professional production is because of that ignorance. He was not a trained actor. He was a kid just doing it his own way, and he found truth in that. And for Raymond Carver, that's more important than just like what would be considered good acting. It's the honesty. When you look at Edward Norton's character, Mike, he says all the time, the only time I'm telling the truth is on stage. Every other time, I'm just getting through it. And he's constantly looking for that new way to look at life via his characters. Yeah. And that's why another person I think is the example of that unexpected virtue of ignorance is his daughter, is Riggin's daughter. Because on the roof, when he's like sitting there talking, she's sitting there talking to Mike, she's like, "Wait, if you could do anything right now, what'd you do with me?" And he goes, I'd rip your eyes out of your head and I'd shove them in my skull. just to see the world the way you do it, the way I used to see it back then for the first time again, because it's all of these biases that have been created over times of being in the industry and everything. He's not ignorant anymore. He can't think of everything like through that youthful cynicism as well as exuberance that like she can. He's poisoned. Same with like with Riggin, except also why is Riggin's performance so good at the end? And why is it that the review is called The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance? Because she says no one who does big Hollywood movies, especially like these cape films, could ever give an honest and true performance. She says no matter what, full wholesale, she's like, no matter what you do, you will never be good because you are a superhero. That is not acting.
She also makes a clear distinction, like Riggin is a celebrity,
He's
not
a celebrity,
an actor.
yeah. But the thing is, she's surrounded by egomaniacs like herself and Mike all the time in the New York fucking hoity-toity drama industry, and that his actual letting an outsider like him, who, yeah, he's a Hollywood celebrity, but he's an outsider to New York theater, he gives a new perspective that none of them had before.
But in the interview I watched, and this ties into it that beautifully, he specifically mentions that at the end, it is a perfect sort of, it is Michael Keaton fully embracing the theme of the film and becoming entirely lost in the fantasy. And I think what he's saying is that through that new lens, like, yes, it is good, and it can be useful to making yourself feel better, but it is still... like, it can become a fantasy that you're lost in.
100%.
And while he's displaying truth there on stage, he's lost so deeply in this
He's blowing
fantasy,
his nose off with a gun.
that he shoots himself in the head, and that's part of it, is being lost in the fantasy is killing yourself. Being lost in the fantasy is actually even worse because then he wakes up, but you don't know if he's alive or dead or if he's going to just die immediately after or if he's not. And you don't know anymore because...
Also...
reality's gone.
Also, ironically, in him trying to break away from Birdman so much, even, you know, in doing this play, he's trying to break away from that role, which is the only thing that ever made him relevant in the first place. It's the only thing that ever made him considered a good actor in the first place. In trying to break away from it so much, what does he do? He listens to the voice in his head that is Birdman.
Yeah.
He embraces Birdman. But also at the same time he doesn't want to, because at the end, what does this trying to escape Birdman get him? He blows off his fucking nose and he gets cosmetic surgery that when he's in the hospital,
Looks like a bird.
he looks like Birdman with the mask and the cowl. And even when he takes it off, his nose is reconstructed in a way it looks like a fucking beak. Like it looks like a big old honker.
Yeah.
Well, and part of the cynicism is like, well, fuck these superhero movies. I don't give a fuck about these superhero movies. They're all trash. But then he sees art types saying the exact same thing that he's saying about superhero movies, and he goes, well, you don't really have anything to stand on either. You're just as bad, and you're just as trite, and you're just as lost in the fantasy.
You're standing on an opposite end. You're holding something else up.
Exactly.
And I think it's this newfound perspective that I think he was more open to returning to. I think without Birdman, he probably wouldn't have returned to play Batman again.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have done Spider-Man. You wouldn't have played Vulture in that, another bird theme thing.
I mean,
It's
it also
funny
just
coincidence.
got him a lot of notoriety.
Yeah, I mean, this movie gave him.
What also
sort of-
allowed it showed
it was
he
a real-
wasn't a serious actor for the first
it
time.
was a real renaissance for his career. Like he
Michael
went from
Keaton,
that.
not Riggin, by the way.
Michael Keaton had a real renaissance post this movie. Like he went on to be in Spotlight, which won Best Picture the following year, which he's great in, a great ensemble cast. And then he's in The Founder, where he plays the founder of McDonald's, Ray Kroc, and that's probably, in my opinion, his best
I
performance,
think it's his best performance
he's
as
ever
well,
given
yeah.
in his career. He's fantastic in that movie. Just like the emotional arc he has to go on in that movie. It's so fascinating to watch. And he's in a Hulu TV show right now, which I haven't seen, but it's getting good buzz. Specifically, his performance is getting good buzz, called Dope Sick. It's based off a book, and it's about the opioid crisis.
Yeah.
So I'm real glad. I mean, because also earlier this exact same decade in the 2010s, you had The Reconnaissance, which is kind of a similar thing.
Well, what's interesting with Michael Keaton, so like, yeah, it's the embracing of the fact that like another thing to the meta nature of this whole movie and how in the ripples it has forward from that, it revitalized Michael Keaton's career, but it also revitalized his outlook on his career. It let him, in order to play Birdman, in order to get truth out of the role, I had to confront the fact that I was Batman and that maybe it wasn't a bad thing. Maybe it was just a thing.
Yeah.
Because it's like, Regan, just like him, has that moment where it's like before his career, he did a lot of bit stuff that no one really liked.
Right.
And then he always thought himself a better actor. And then he got Birdman, and everyone loved him as a celebrity, but he was like, but this isn't a serious role. And so he leaves it, tries to do something else afterwards, and he just can't. He just gets bit parts for a while.
That's the whole thing about the ego.
Yeah.
And what Birdman represents is that the ego isn't just, you're so great. The ego is also, you're so bad.
You're so bad, yeah.
And part of
The
why
self-doubt.
the ego is, you're so bad is, well, you have the ability to be the perfect person. And since you're not being the perfect person right now, you are doing really bad. And you need to do better because you can do better. And you're not acknowledging that you have limitations. And that's part of the whole thing with Regan is that it's like, like making Birdman out to be the best thing in your life is stupid.
Yeah.
Making Birdman out to be the worst thing in your life
Is
is
stupid.
stupid. The truth is, your daughter is who matters. Your ex-wife is who matters. Your girlfriend is who matters.
He couldn't.
These are the people
He was
who
so caught up
matter.
in his ego. I mean, his wife very pointedly says something when she comes back to see him, and they get into a little bit of an argument. After she says, at first she goes, when I was standing in here waiting for you to come in, I was thinking to myself, why did we ever break up? Why did we get divorced? And now I get it. I spent all those years, me and your daughter spent all those years loving you, and I still love you, but you think we don't because you don't know the difference between love and admiration. You want admiration. It's not the same.
Yeah.
And you know what? This comes back to the flashes he gets when he dies, because he when he blows his head off or whatever, when he blows his nose off, it's like a near-death experience. You see those flashes that happen. I would interpret, and I think a lot of people would interpret, that that's like the most important moments of your life kind of before death, right? He sees he sees in that the marching band that was playing out in Times Square when he was locked outside in his underwear. And you could act like that was a bad moment for him. He fucking loved it. It was him getting all the admiration he's ever wanted in that moment. Everyone's flagging him down. The admiration he's not getting on stage. He's getting everyone going like, Regan, take these photos with me. Everyone's taking photos. He goes viral off of it. He's excited that he goes viral. And then he gives his best version of that performance on stage right up till that point, right afterwards, where he comes in and then all supercharged up his ego, he's able to give a performance.
Yeah.
And then everyone cheers for him right off of that too. And like that, that's that moment, like that ego thing is so important. That love and admiration balance is so...
So I think it's sort of a disservice to just talk about the context of Michael Keaton's career in the context of this movie, because there's another actor in the movie who's sort of playing himself.
Oh, yeah,
and that would
definitely.
be Edward Norton.
Yep. That's
infamously hard to work with Edward Norton.
Asshole.
another kind of meta thing going on through this movie is like
kind of an asshole, kind of based.
Yeah.
Kind of based as fuck,
who-
actually.
Who also played a superhero?
He did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is true.
Yep.
And also
He did.
Emma Stone also famously played in
Gwen
Gwen
Stacy.
Played a
Stacy.
superhero's love interest.
In
Because
the
that's
same
only
year
roles
that
for
this
women
movie
that were
came out,
back then.
actually.
Yeah, I was learning that apparently she was filming this movie and Amazing Spider-Man 2 at the same time.
That's tough.
I mean, that makes sense because her hair is literally like bleached.
Yeah.
So
I mean, also
it's
they
probably...
they were both shot in New York.
Yeah,
so.
so it scheduling makes sense. But yeah, Edward Norton, I do love the meta nature of his character. He he is basically playing himself. He's playing this difficult to work with, like, method actor who like is like comes in and he's like known for like being hot and cold with people. No one knows how to get a read on him because on one hand he'll be like the most complimentary, nice person ever, and then he'll be just a monster who tears you down.
Or
He's changing the script at times. I mean, the
actually getting drunk on stage.
actually getting drunk on stage has to go to, or like, I mean, the whole sexual assault scene
Yeah.
where he assaults his girlfriend on stage and everything.
I mean, he's not really known for that.
No, that's not Edward Norton. I mean, saying like the kind of.
We're not
well, 'cause
slandering.
they're both playing heightened version. It's not like Michael
Yes,
Keaton's
yeah,
playing Michael
yeah.
Keaton. It's not like Edward Norton's playing.
No,
they're playing
I-
heightened,
absolutely.
worse versions.
I just
of
want to
themselves.
say, apparently, and this is all alleged. Apparently, when Edward Norton found out that Harvey Weinstein had assaulted Selma Hayek.
No, I think
no.
it was whoever his girlfriend was at the time, or someone he had dated.
Who played Frida Kahlo?
That's
Salma
was
Hayek,
it? Was
yeah.
it Selma Hayek?
It's Salma
Okay,
Hayek.
yeah.
Yeah.
Salma Hayek.
Well, I knew she played Frida Kahlo. I didn't know if it was like
When he
her.
heard that he had assaulted Selma Hayek, apparently he punched Harvey Weinstein in the face, and
Yeah, very based. Yeah,
Yeah.
incredibly based. Yeah.
incredibly based.
Fuck
yeah.
Oh,
So, I mean, that's just a fun little story about Ed Norton in the
Yeah,
90s.
well, so like here's the thing about like Ed Norton and his character of Mike and the importance when it comes to like Riggin. Like it's part of what you were saying earlier about like him Riggin idolizing these hoity-toity New York acting types and thinking that that's what he is supposed to be and that's what real acting is, to the point that like he has this guy on stage, it's knocked out, and he needs to fill the role, and he ends up getting Mike, who appears, and he's like, Mike's a real actor. This guy's great. He does his first scene with them on rehearsing, and Mike does amazing. From that point on, it's just nonstop, fucking hot and cold, arguing and complimenting back and forth with Mike, and it's just such a roller coaster with him. And he has this realization. It becomes very clear to him. He's like, he's no fucking different from me.
Yeah.
He's like, or he's no different from like all the other fucking Hollywood actors I know. He's this fucking egomaniac. The difference is, I think he has like an argument with him. I think at the bar maybe, or it might have been when they were fighting physically, where he's like, yeah, you're no different, dude. You're no fucking different. You're just on a stage instead. Like that's all it is. Also, based moment from Riggin. I think the ballsiest moment in this movie is when he's like pins Mike up against the fridge, and he's like, why would you say that your dad was a drinker? Was he even a drinker? He goes, no, not really. I lied for the thing. And then he goes into why he likes Raymond Carver, and he likes his play. It's my dad's a drinker, and he's like, he would touch me and my little sister, and luckily like he'd forget about her by the time he was done with me and stuff like that. And Mike does not know how to deal with it. And he's like, holy fucking shit, dude, that's heavy. I'm sorry. And then you just see that moment of Michael
not
Keaton's,
true.
It's not true. Although the thing is, it's presented as not true in the movie. But I'm gonna be honest. It seems like, and it could be or could not be, but it seems like one of those things that the movie might, because Mike makes it clear he can tell when someone is acting or they're lying, and he is actually tricked in that moment. Is it showing the limits of Mike's egomaniacal nature and saying that, oh, he couldn't really tell? Or is it Riggin is lying about lying?
Yeah.
And that's actually true, and he's actually giving a true performance from his heart, from his real life for the first time. And that's why it's so good. And then he lies and says, no, it's because I'm actually a good actor, and that was fully false. And so I like that it could work in either direction.
Yeah.
And
No,
it really works on those levels. And I love it. It's so, that one scene right there is fucking, and it also just like, it boils down how stupid their squabbles are anyways, because it turns into two grown men, one of them naked, wrestling in a kitchen while like some union guys who are actual big tough guys watching them. Like, what the fuck is this? We're trying to work. Get out of the way.
Well, and also, like, you see throughout the movie, and, like, you're kind of supposed to see it through Riggin's eyes to a degree, but you also see, like, you're hyped up to Mark. You think, oh, like, this guy's, he knows his shit. He's a real actor. You see him, and it's like, at first, when he's doing that tip word, it's like, oh, yeah, no, fuck, he's really good. And then you just see him throughout the movie just kind of being a sad piece of shit, just completely alienating his girlfriend and everyone around him, hitting on Riggin's daughter, who's, like, 20 years younger than him, just is absolutely just completely broken down from this image that you see of him. And it's kind of gratifying, but in the other way, it's like sort of, you understand where Riggin's coming from too, because he sees all the cracks and the imperfections in him as well.
The part where Riggin is about to go on stage and he sees Mike and his daughter, and they're sort of canoodling, and he's like, I need to go outside for a cigarette and smoke. And then that's when he gets stuck outside. That was the moment that I kind of started to get the title, The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance, because if he hadn't known, he would have just gone on stage and it would have all gone smoothly. But it was that, that
Shift in
thing
perspective
of like, well, if it's happening, then I want to know, but do you really want to know?
Do you really want to know? Yeah. Well, and perspective and like perception is such a big part of this movie. And we mentioned it earlier, but like one thing, mirror shots. Yeah, on set, I know that there were a lot of actual mirrors, but they would pull them out for takes because they physically could not shoot the movie with mirrors. So there were mirrors there for reference. They would film it with a mirror for a reference so that they can later do it.
Rehearsed it so many times.
Because when they're actually filming, there are no mirrors. They are CG. I implore you, look back at this movie, and you can look at the VFX breakdown. This is true. There's I think a couple scenes where there's actually a mirror, but almost the entire movie on camera, when you see a mirror, it is a CGI construction, and it's just a reverse of the room shot from the opposite side, and they just match up the performances and rehearse it so perfectly that it looks like a reflection. And they use body doubles for some of it and whatnot, and hidden cuts to like transition over from a body double from behind to the actual actors and stuff like that. There's a lot of insane work. Technically, this movie is amazing, and I think on first watch through, we talked about this right afterwards. Your first watch through, that's all you pay attention to.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of you, when you're listening now, you're like, oh my God, wait, putting all this stuff together as we're talking about it. Trust me, that was kind of our experience after watching through this again, because as film nerds, you watch it the first time, you hear it's a movie meant to look like it's one take. You're watching for all the hidden cuts. Yeah. You're watching for you're trying to think, how did they do it in this scene?
It's a fun little game.
Well, some of them you can't because it goes to black almost at times, or it goes behind someone's back.
But
there are some that are insane.
And there's also the one proper cut.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does that Alfred Hitchcock rope thing where it'll the camera will zoom in on someone's back and it'll go black for a few frames, and then that's an obvious cut there and stuff.
Or it's when they're looking up at the sky and it goes from night to day and an
also a digital shot. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a testament to the direction of this movie and just the collaboration involved that they make this shit look so fucking easy. I was watching
insane,
this oh, I could fucking do this shit.
No, you couldn't.
No, I couldn't. I absolutely
movie,
couldn't.
It's just this movie. I think there are many years where you could look at who won Best Director at the Oscars that year, and you could really go, well, I mean, that was fine, I guess, but no, so and so should have got it, or so and so wasn't even nominated; they should have won. I look at the movies that came out in 2014. And I go, it's got to be Iñárritu, just the sheer ambition and what they were trying to do.
And it's also it's not like he's focusing only on the gimmick of the one take.
Right.
Hey, it's the one take has a meaning.
It's just like he shaped all the performances, and all the performances are great. And
he was also using a non-traditional directing method in directing it. They asked him did you have to get tons and tons of shots, tons and tons of different takes because of how complicated each shot was? And he was like, I mean, for some of them, yeah. But for the most part, we would rehearse, and then we'd shoot a version of it, and we'd go, this just doesn't work. And then we would reblock and rewrite everything in the scene pretty much. And then we would rehearse, and then we'd film it, and it wouldn't be right. And so we'd do it again.
And another pretty amazing thing about this movie is that it was shot in sequential order, which if you know anything about filmmaking, which I don't know if any of you watching knew or not, shooting in sequential order, which is the order on the script, is extremely rare.
Extremely rare. It doesn't make sense usually.
Most movies don't do that. It's because there are so many variables like actor availability, location availability, day or night.
But it makes sense because it is it's a bottle movie. It takes place in this theater, which by the nature of being in a theater, there's no windows anyways, so they can film anything day for night for day. So it's
that's why David Lynch was able to do the return, film it sequentially, is because he basically has a stranglehold over that.
Also,
town.
even then, they actually from what I know, they actually filmed a lot of it on location in an actual theater. No. And
the actual theater,
and it is right off of fucking Times Square, and that scene with Riggin going outside.
Yep.
Most of the people in that scene are just people in Times Square.
Yeah. Well, actually, I discovered that they shot that scene apparently late in the night, early in the morning, where there'd be less people about. It's New York Times Square.
Yeah.
It's busy no matter what.
Yep.
But I think most of the people in that are
there's a good people who are actors, and of course all the marching band stuff are
most of them are extras. From what I could tell from looking
but
into
there is
guy
a
in the
good
Bumblebee costume.
Yeah, there's a good amount of people there who are not extras though. It is interesting, but
also did anyone have that kind of a recurring nightmare as a kid where you're maybe
running around embarrassed in underwear?
I know for me it was just you be in school and you have to give a presentation and you're in your underwear. and like everybody's laughing at you.
Nah.
That was a recurring nightmare I had as a kid.
My version of that nightmare is I lived in SpongeBob land and I found a hatch and I opened it and it took me into this boiler room from Freddy Krueger, and then suddenly the memories start to get really shaky and foggy, and then I'd wake up.
My version of that is all my family and friends hated me and tried to kill me.
Okay, well, speaking of horrifying things like that,
I do want to say one thing about the one take, because it is just so fucking impressive that they can pull this off, because there's this new movie on Netflix. It's like some kind of action movie. Carter does the same thing, all designed to look like, and it looks like shit. It looks fucking awful. The cuts are so blatantly obvious. It looks like iPhone zoom lens, and it's like it isn't that easy. It is not.
No, it's not that easy.
To pull it
Well,
off.
also, even when people do it well and do it right, it's all they tend to focus on. Like, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I like 1917. I think that 1917 is a good movie.
Roger
It is-
Deakins.
Yeah, it's not on my list though because I don't think it's a great movie.
okay.
Because the one take serves a purpose, but it's not that deep. It is mostly for a gimmick.
Yeah.
And same with the Revenant. Same director, but it's him kind of like
It's speaking of things being on lists, I was about to not put this movie on my list. I was like, is this only going on there for the gimmick? And I was like, well, I kind of want a movie that looks like this on my list.
because it's
but-
impressive technically.
Yeah, and I just remember, the performances were good and it was funny enough, so I just was like, oh, I'll throw it on there. But when we were sitting down to watch it, I was like, oh no, what if it's not as good as I remember? I have to defend why this is on my list. And then it ended, and I was like, it should have been higher. I should have put it higher on my list.
It belongs. Well, so like the other thing. So talking about the meaning of the long take. There's a couple things on here. This is what I was actually going to transition to with the spooky thing. There's a couple times where you see this on stage. I have a minor. My degree was a major in film, minor in theater. Right. So I've been in theater all my life. And there is something in this movie that if you're not in theater or haven't taken up theater classes or whatever, you wouldn't know. When the stage is shut down and everyone is gone, sometimes the characters go out on the stage and there's a single light on a black pole that is on rolling wheels. And it's just an exposed light bulb. That is called the ghost light. And the ghost light is there to essentially appease the spirits of actors and performers long gone in the space. And so that plays multiple ways. Number one, I'm going to bring back the critic. She said you do not deserve to inhabit the same space that so many other great long past actors have. So many long gone performances that will never be talked about, blah, blah, blah. That's what she's talking about. Like, people in theater kind of legitimately and also illegitimately, or like actually do, or like spiritually believe, or like, sorry, metaphorically believe that the theater is haunted, that the theater is full of spirits of the long past. That's why you think the house, thank you house, house is open, thanks house.
You also have the whole thing with
break a leg,
Macbeth or the Scottish play.
Scottish play. You don't say Macbeth on stage, you say the Scottish play because bad things will happen. The ghost will kill you. Look, to be fair, there's a long history of that happening.
It's a very odd superstition, but
this comes to play not only then. But when also Mike talks to him and he's like, yeah, you also don't deserve it, because he brings up the history of like other actors who, yet again, long gone. But it comes into play in the form of the camera, because the camera floats around ethereally, barely leaves the block that the theater is on. It floats around room for room. It follows them around. It looks at what it wants to look at. It's ethereal.
Damn.
It is essentially these. You're like in the eyes of a dead actor who's just inhabiting this theater and happens to be watching what is going on right now in your former home, in your former stage.
It reminds me of something I really like about one of my favorite directors, David Fincher. He has this whole philosophy of the omniscient camera,
Yeah.
which is like the camera. This is something he's a firm believer in. If you watch any of his movies, you can see it. Of like, he doesn't really believe in just locking the camera down. He likes the idea of having the camera kind of follow these characters, or then maybe wants to go over here and follow these characters, see what they're doing, which is something 100% this movie does. Like, Reagan will have a scene with his daughter, and then he'll walk out, and then the camera will follow Laura or Leslie, which is Naomi Watts' character, Or you'll follow Jake, which is Zach Galifianakis' character. We haven't really talked about him very much. Although, to be fair, he's an extremely minor character in this. He doesn't really have much. But
I've got some stuff to say about him, but keep going.
Zach Galifianakis is great in this movie, and I kind of wish he gets kind of more dramatic roles like this because I think me and a lot of other people, we only see Zach Galifianakis. Oh, funny guy from Hangover.
Weird
movies.
funny guy. Yeah.
And the guy from In Between Two Ferns.
Yeah.
And he's a really great, really funny guy.
Wait,
So
Jesse,
back
what do you have
oh.
to say about Zach Gal? Wait.
Oh, I was gonna
Oh.
talk about the ghost light still.
Oh,
I had
yeah.
another thing real quick.
Okay.
Because another important thing, the other thing that the ghost light comes into play, and the whole haunting nature of this. In my view, this is a ghost movie. This is a paranormal film. Aside from his telekinetic powers, that are probably in his head.
No, he just has.
Depending on who you ask, may or may not.
Yeah, but it's a ghost story. It's a ghost story, and part of that is I mentioned earlier, when he dies, when he has that close call with death, he has these moments in his life that he flashes to, these obscure images that kind of you would picture as what happens when you die. What does he see? He's on stage and he sees the band and the fucking bumblebee dancing around in front of him on Times Square. He sees the jellyfish, his near-death experience that he had with all the jellyfish, or what he thought was a near-death experience. He sees them washed up on the beach. That's another important memory that gets called back to. That's great. The last shot of that entire thing that he has before he comes back to is the ghost light alone on the stage at night. And that's almost him joining. It's him being guided to the light of the stage and joining the other spirits. But then he comes back and he's alive. Or you can interpret it like Riggin died there. He might have lived, but his soul died there. Some might say, but it's whatever. Because that also goes to a little bit of the theory of actors bear their soul to stage. So even if they die later, they go to haunt the theater because that's where they really last lived. And
no, the ego is pushing Michael Keaton sort of in those last moments, and he ultimately jumps out the window, the ultimate example of getting lost in the fantasy. And by nature, as you see when Emma Stone looks up to the sky and smiles, it's almost like he is a ghost now, flying away by getting lost in the fantasy. You become a legend of
legend of theater. The critic confirms that already.
There's an actual a line in the movie where Reagan says, where he's talking to, I think, his ex-wife. I'm pretty sure in that scene, where he's like, he has this real kind of moment of doubt, because for most of the movie he's pretty steadfast that this is what he wants to do. He's put so much of himself into this, and he doesn't really have any room for doubt. If he does, then everything will fail. But this one moment of doubt, and he shares this with his ex-wife, where he's like, I feel like, and it's kind of like a wink metaphor, but it's not quite breaking the fourth wall. But where he's like, I kind of feel like this whole play or whatever is it's formed a life of its own, and it's following me around, which is kind of him almost acknowledging the audience and the camera itself without directly breaking the fourth wall, which goes into what you said earlier about the camera kind of thing.
Well, there's also another thing about that, and it ties back to that, and it ties back to what you said earlier, and also back to the title of the movie, and the character who inhabits the title of the movie from a third-party sense, which is the daughter. She is often treated like the audience is. Actors have this love-hate relationship with audiences, and a lot of time if you ask actors in the right moment, they will tell you they fucking hate the audience. They say they love them, but they hate them because they're the core. To them, they exemplify every insecurity they have. They would love to give a performance with no audience. Granted, what's the thing that makes Mike say something was a good performance or not? What does he say every time Riggin does something good? He says, "Great audience tonight," right? He says that because the audience is what determines everything. They're always watching. They're judging you. And what does who plays Mike's girlfriend again?
Andrea Riseborough.
she says his daughter's so fucking creepy. She's just fucking.
No, that's Naomi Watts. Who
I
says
said
that.
Mike's
Mike's girlfriend. That's Naomi Watts.
Yeah. Okay, Naomi Watts. I thought so.
That's
yeah.
Laura, I
Yeah,
think. Or
so
maybe
like,
it's Les.
yeah, so like Naomi Watts' character, she's like, his daughter is so fucking creepy. She's just always fucking there, and she's always got this judgy attitude, and she's just fucking looking at you, and she doesn't know what it's like, and she doesn't live it. She's just a fucking burnout loser. She doesn't care.
And I think the drugs fried her brain.
Yeah, and then Mike's just like, hey, she's with us. She's here. And then you see in the mirror, in the background of the mirror, she's just standing there. And there's a lot of shots in this movie. She's just kind of there in the background. And also, like, when Riggin sometimes goes to the dressing room, she starts talking to him before we even see her. She's haunting the theater similar to him. She's doing the same things as the audience. She mirrors the camera. She mirrors the theme. She mirrors the audience. We're essentially, in a lot of ways, in my opinion, in a meta sense, experiencing the film through her eyes more than we are Riggins. We're empathizing with Riggin, and we're getting into his head because we actually hear his thoughts. But as the audience, we're more similar to her character than anything else. And so I think that is like a really interesting thing about the movie.
That's the classic Casablanca thing. You don't want to be the guy, you want to be the girl. That's the whole audience surrogate thing. The whole concept of a power fantasy is kind of wrong because you don't want to be the one doing the thing. By nature of being in the audience, you want to be the bystander. You want to be the love interest. You want to be the person who gets to say, "Oh, bye, have fun," but see all the exciting stuff with their eyes. Jesse, what are your comments on Zach Galifianakis in this movie? Real quick?
Remember, dude.
Well, good, because I have something. Unless you do have your thoughts.
Well, I think I was just going to talk in a general sense about a lot of the side characters of like something really good Inarritu does is just everyone there has their own stuff going on. Everyone there is complex to a degree. Like Galifianakis' character is like he wants to keep the play going, but at the same time he doesn't want to like make his friend kill himself.
Yeah, I think one thing that really helps with this ensemble, a very small ensemble cast, is just like all the character dynamics are very crystal clear, and like you have this whole thing with Laura, which is Naomi Watts' character. I'm pretty sure it's Laura. Where it's just like this is her big break, right? It's just like because she had this dream of, much like Reagan and most other actors too, of like making it on the Broadway, being a successful actor. And this is pretty much her big break. If this flops, this is going to affect her whole career. So she's putting her heart and soul into this. And you have Andrea Riseborough's character, which is Leslie, I think.
Yeah. She's Reagan's girlfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's pregnant.
Yeah. There's this whole thing with like with her, where like she may or may not be pregnant. You find out later she's not.
And then, like, there's a lot of plot threads in here that go nowhere. Not in a bad way.
Like her and Naomi Watts.
Like
having
her and Naomi Watts
like,
just like
an affair.
They have a Mulholland Drive moment.
They have a Mulholland Drive moment. It's never really addressed again.
Is that what we're just gonna call like lesbian relationships in movies?
I mean,
guys
Naomi,
seeing lesbians
got a
for the first
Mulholland
time.
Drive
Getting some
moment.
serious Mulholland
I'm just-
vibes.
I was
Film
saying
bros
that-
talk about gay women.
I was saying that because Naomi Watts.
This
That's
is
why.
just like Chasing Amy, dude.
Dude, I'm gonna come to the Pride Fest next year and just go, man, what a fucking Mulholland Drive
We got a bunch of Brokeback Mountains, Mulholland Drives up in
There's a
here.
bunch of Brokeback Mountains and Mulholland Drives.
And we don't have anything for bisexual people because they got no fucking movies.
Chasing Amy. Anyways,
Speaking of going nuts, I have something that I do want to talk about.
is it your nuts that you're gonna pull out right now?
I brought up at the beginning the whole bit about the cynicism and his perspective on the cynicism. And part of that is just because that is why he made the movie. And part of why I wanted to bring it up at the beginning is I did not want it to seem like it was being brought up as like a retort or a way to deflect from something that is very much in this movie, which is a pretty substantial critique of films that were coming out at the time. And I think it is a disservice to just say, well, the movie's not really about that. It is and it isn't. It's about bigger things, but it heavily uses this to get you on its side.
Yeah, I think there's that one scene in particular where we guys briefly mentioned this earlier, where he has like this fantasy where he's walking down the street and he has Birdman following him, and it turns into like basically like any other comic book movie.
60's the new 30.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I think one thing he talks about is like apocalypse porn. It's just like people love all this shit about it being near the end of the world because people have all these anxieties.
These
and
kinds of
stuff.
movies are described as porn a few times in this
Yeah.
movie.
Also,
Yeah.
on top of that, when we ever see like people who were fans of Birdman in the movie, they are these mindless consumers who
Yeah.
don't care about anything. Like one of the first times we see it is when like you're at the bar and that late like it's such a perfect moment too because Mike's just like no one even gives a shit about you. Oh my god, are you Riggin Thomas?
Can you
Thompson?
hold the phone?
Can you hold the phone? And then that's even undercut because he's like, oh yeah, no problem. And like they're taking the picture, and the kid goes, "Mommy, who is this?" And he goes, "He used to play Birdman a long time ago, honey."
And it's the reason.
But part of that is so magic because he gets owned in that moment, and then he immediately talks to the critic, and then the critic just lays into Riggin, and he's like, "You should really give him a shot." And it's just like, what the fuck
Like-
is your perspective? Like, who are you?
Yeah,
Mike is so interesting.
And it's more interesting with the Times Square scene. It's like who all do you see there? You see these mindless consumers. You see Bumblebee. You see Spider-Man. You see superheroes.
Master
you see
Chief.
Was Master Chief in there?
I think there was a Master Chief suit, right?
I don't remember seeing a Master Chief. If Master Chief's in there, I love this movie a million times more than I already fucking did.
I could be wrong, but
Jesse, were you in the scene? Were you in the scene?
Hey, listen. I criticize consumers unless it's the fucking chief. He died.
I just consume and consume, baby.
See-
343.
But I think that's where it goes a little too far. Is I don't really think the movie is saying these people are mindless consumers. I
Yeah.
think the movie is saying live your life and don't worry so much about what people think of you.
Yeah, because
Well, I don't think necessarily the movie was calling them mindless consumers. I'm saying that that the interactions we see on screen of Riggin having with these people, you see why he has that perception of
Yes,
people.
yeah, no,
because
absolutely.
we get that affirmations of that by that, but it doesn't go into the audience who's at the play to see him. They always applaud him. They always think he does a great job. And you hear chatter from the crowd. It seems like they really love him.
And the same consumers at the end are the same people holding a candlelight vigil for him because he was Birdman or because they loved his play.
Yeah, or just in general, because he meant something to them.
One of the things that is very funny, and it's at the beginning of the movie, and it's sort of like making a joke about press junkets, is a woman asks him, a guy asks him what it was like to work on Birdman. At the same time, a woman's asking him if he rubs pig semen on his face, and he's trying to answer both at the same time. And he's just trying, and in the middle of it, you have
the two Japanese
Yes,
businessmen.
and-
Birdman 4?
Yeah, they
You're
all-
doing Birdman 4?
you're-
By the way, I had to be the one to jump in and say that as I am Asian. I knew my co-host wanted
wait.
to reference that. But
hold on, wait, what?
But
You're Asian?
No, I'm black.
that whole thing is
Wow.
like, because then for and that's just like, oh, Michael Keaton confirmed for so and so role, or this actor does this insane thing, and it's like, you have Jared Leto one time, and he is a very problematic person.
Psychotic
This is
person.
not me saying he is not problematic. But
Wait, what are you talking about? Referencing our previous cool dude, unironically cool dude.
you have one
He was Dr. Michael Morbius.
you have one interview where he mentions like sending condoms and dead pigs and stuff to co-stars.
Yeah, for
Something
Suicide Squad, yeah.
that he was exaggerating in that, and he was half joking. And that is just fact to the internet. That just happened.
It got
He
blown out of
sent dead
proportion,
rats
yeah.
and dead pigs and used condoms
Yeah.
to Margot Robbie specifically, and probably threatened to kill her with a gun. But a lot of that was just, it was like,
I thought he sent her a live rat.
he did. That he sent a live rat, a dead pig, and condoms.
She adopted.
used condoms.
She adopted the live rat, and I think still has it as a pet.
But
It's
he,
probably dead by now. They live like 2 years.
he kind of exaggerated in an interview, and that was already around the time that he was being known for being a crazy method actor, and bada bing, bada boom.
And now he's known as a crazy pedophile.
Which he is.
And crazy cult leader.
Allegedly.
Hey, suck my brother's dick.
Suck my brother. You want to prove how cool you are? Suck my brother's dick.
Suck my brother's dick and do it in front of me.
Do it in front of me. Come on. Is nothing weird? I don't want to see my brother's dick, but I want to see you suck his dick. There's nothing weird about wanting to see my brother get sucked
Okay.
off. It's just weird to see his dick.
That's just him looking out for his bro, though.
It's
No,
him
it's
looking
the
out
poison taste tester.
it's the poison taste tester. You never know.
A king has a man to eat his meal before
Hey,
he
but you
eats
know
it.
what you could always do? Like, speaking of getting your dick sucked, you can always just throw rocks at her head.
Yeah, you can always just
Throw big rocks at her head. We're getting to the greatest hit, folks. Like
so-
5 episodes in, the greatest hits.
So, I have it on good authority that you guys have a list.
Wait,
prepared.
before we get into that, can I say one last thing?
Yes,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Okay,
No.
because it
Yes,
does have
go
to do with the ghost light and this movie. In my mind, I kind of do genuinely believe this is a movie about ghosts and haunting and
No,
everything like that.
I did not even think about that. You honestly blew
Yeah,
my
no.
fucking
One
mind
of
when
the
you
things
brought
that
up.
blows
Yeah,
that'll
for
blow
real.
your mind the most about it, audience, and it's something that I looked up while we were watching this time because I was like, what is the importance of this quote at the beginning of the movie? Who is Raymond Carver? All right, I did not know who he was. He is an author. He's considered like one of the great American authors. I never actually read him. He's apparently pretty good. The play, I actually was supposed to fucking read the novella that this play is based off of. I did not do that in time. To be fair, I think it's like 100 pages. I was not gonna. Anyways, what are we talking about? The play the play is based off of his novella. What we talk about when we talk about love, by the way. But Raymond Carver himself was what you consider he's what you think when you think of like a great American author. He's a tortured artist, alcoholic, poet, writer type, kind of destroyed all of his own personal relationships throughout his entire life, but he was somehow able to write so insightfully about all these beautiful like explorations of love and relationships and life at his own great cost. So that does mirror how Riggin wants to view himself and what Riggin kind of actually ends up doing by the end of the movie. But the quote at the beginning of the movie that is like it and like all the text comes in and it shows a quote and it says like Raymond Carver at the end. That quote is important because that is the quote that Raymond Carver demanded be put on his headstone when he died, and it is what is on his headstone. So to talk about this movie being a movie about ghosts, it is about Raymond Carver's ghost, but it's like that's the headstone. This movie is just one big exploration of the final days of an actor, and that is the headstone that you read. When you read when you read a headstone, you see a name, you see the date, and then you see a quote. And that's the quote. The headstone, that's his head. That's the headstone of the movie. This is the grave of Riggin Thompson. That's the movie. So continuing my crazy theory that I don't think it's crazy. I think that this is all very intentional. Like it was definitely meant to be like that.
It is
Like,
absolutely a read you're supposed to be able to take from
Like,
that.
The ending's intentionally left ambiguous, but I think that's totally valid.
This is a very complex movie. We can honestly probably be here all night discussing it.
Oh yeah.
Like there's so many things that I don't think none of us have touched
Well,
upon.
there's
like,
a lot of shit that I don't even think I'll
like,
notice until I watch it
this-
again.
Oh
like,
yeah.
One thing I was kind of picking up on this time was there's this whole kind of analogy to the ancient Greek myth of Icarus.
Yep.
You know, Birdman, flying too close to the sun. It's a whole thing about pride and ego and hubris and how that can lead to your downfall, stuff like that. I mean,
yeah, which factors into the ego.
yeah, that's I feel like that's definitely an undercurrent kind of thematic thing going on. It's a very, very, very complex movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I mean
a reason
that's
for
another thing.
making
Just
it
like
Birdman.
yeah, and like what you're saying here, what we're all saying here, and like especially what you mentioned a second ago, you're gonna get something else probably different something new when you watch it again. This is why I think this podcast is important, and like why it's like we're rewatching all these movies when we make these lists, because some of us hadn't seen these movies. We had all seen Birdman.
I hadn't seen it since it came out.
Yeah, but the reason we rewatch it, and we don't just go, "Oh, I'm going to go off memory," is because you get new eyes when you watch something again. You're looking at different things
Through the unexpected virtue of ignorance.
Exactly. you get a new outlook, and I think that's. People always ask me when why do you rewatch movies? I don't get it. You've watched the movie.
Who asked
Why
that?
do you rewatch it? Oh, people all the time.
That's weird.
I mean, you think we're all film bros. We interact with a lot of film bros, but like half the girls I've dated, when they're like, "Here, I've seen a movie 5 times and I want to watch it again with them," they're like, "Why do you rewatch movies?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but it's because like you get something new every time. That's the whole point of it. And if there is a movie that you like, or there's a movie that you kind of liked but you didn't get why everyone liked it, I encourage you, audience, rewatch it.
Oh yeah.
Rewatch movies, and when you rewatch a movie, try not to watch it with the same mindset you have when you first watch it. Don't just, the first time, I think, sit down and just take what comes at you. Just watch it. Just enjoy it the best you can. But when you go back the second time, focus on some things.
Yeah,
try to put clues together. Try to see what's trying to be told. And then if you want to watch it more than once, if you get used to watching a movie more than twice, start every time then going, this time I'm going to focus on the acting.
Yep.
This time I'm going to focus on the writing and how I'm going to focus on the editing. I'm going to focus on the set design.
I honestly try every time I watch a movie that I've already seen before, especially once I've seen lots of times. Every time I watch it, I try to find a way to read the whole thing differently, like an entirely different
Always look for something
interpretation.
new.
Yeah.
Yeah, because movies are not just about one thing. They're oftentimes telling multiple layers.
And my personal experience, and I know Jesse wants to say something, so we'll jump to you, because this will probably be kind of our near final thoughts before we move on to what you guys prepared for us today. Yes. I just want to say one last thing about your point is I often find in my personal experience that I usually can really get a movie on a second on like a second or a third watch. Sometimes when I'm watching a movie for the first time, I'm kind of just taking everything as is as it's being given to me. And I know sometimes with certain movies, like especially like great ones, like really really great ones, but those are few and far between, especially with as many movies as we watch. It's
one might say about 329 great movies.
I think every movie is a great movie.
Like for example, for this movie, we talked about this very briefly earlier. I think what most people's like first experience with this movie was like sorry facing over the cinematography, which the cinematography of this movie it's masterful.
Yeah, and even then, then you're like, this is an amazing performance. Because the other thing people talked about is like, oh, Michael Keaton proves that he's a great actor.
But then like on a second and a third rewatch, which this time watching it was my third time watching it.
Yep.
I was able to really pick up on like the kind of the subtle
themes
kind of what's really kind of dig into like under the surface of really what this movie is trying to say. Because I think once you get kind of the more kind of the spectacular spectacle stuff out of the way, and as impressive as that stuff is, it can be sometimes a little. Maybe not distracting is the right word.
It almost works better though once you get the themes and everything, because the camera.
It's almost like the camera is Birdman's costume.
It's like
it is the flashy exterior that makes you not focus on what's underneath.
What's inside.
Shit.
Yeah.
Man.
No, but it's like, see, that's the thing about like this, the camera, right? I said it. I said it to all of you. Like afterwards, I was like, man, it's like. It was like it's all I focused on before when I first watched it, and I was like, yeah, it's so in your face. And when I had a memory of the movie, I was like, yeah, it's in your face that it's one take. But watching it again and focusing on everything else, I forgot it was one take.
Yeah.
I knew it was, but there were moments and scenes where it just melts away, and you're just there, and you become the real reason, aside thematically, why it is one take. Because we've talked about thematically why it's one take, but why it's actually one take. Is because upon further rewatches, or if you're watching it the right way, it breaks it down. Like you are immersed. You're experiencing it like how you would experience
like a
wandering around, like a play.
Yeah. It's a very immersive experience. All right, Jesse,
go ahead and say what you're going to say.
And it had to be acted like a play because of how.
Yeah, exactly. So go ahead, Jesse. Sorry.
I just want to give a quick personal anecdote as to rewatching movies. The first time I saw Blade Runner, I did not like it. I thought it was slow. I thought it was boring. A lot of the shit in it really went over my head.
Same.
And then I saw 2049, and I fucking loved it. 2049 is great. I watched Blade Runner again to sort of prepare for it. I was like, it's a little better. I'm still not really feeling it. Then a long gap happened. A lot of personal shit went on. I watched 2049 again. I recently rewatched Blade Runner, and I thought, wow, this is one of the greatest movies of all time.
Yep.
It's you came through with different eyes, an unexpected virtue of ignorance.
A movie we will discuss in the future.
Sorry, continue with what you were saying. I just wanted to make the joke.
All this to say, if you don't rewatch movies, you should fucking kill yourself.
I'll get you in Minecraft.
No.
I want you to dig straight
in real
down.
life. Kill yourself.
Dig straight
in
down
real life.
in Minecraft.
In the real life server in Minecraft.
And it's the name of the server in Minecraft.
Go to your father's closet.
My father's closet is the name of my server in Minecraft.
It's the name of my server in Minecraft. Okay, so
right.
Christ fucking mighty. Is there anything else you wanted to say besides that?
Oh yeah.
Was there
Or did you guys just want to move on to what you prepared for us today?
But no, you should
rewatch movies.
Rewatch movies. It's really good.
If you take nothing else from this episode, take that.
Yeah,
that's
and yet again, in general for the podcast, when we announce whatever the next episode is going to be about, please, if you have seen the movie, because a lot of these movies people have seen and other ones people have never seen, please, even if you've watched the movie, rewatch it in preparation for the episode. Look through with new eyes and try to find something different. Try to find because that is what makes us all love movies so much. And it's the difference, I think, between general audiences and like film fans. And I mean real film fans. I don't just mean like the pretentious fucking empty-headed douche nozzle film bros who drop out after one semester in film school because it's harder than they thought. I mean because they didn't want to put in thought. They never wrote a paper. They never watched all the movies. They just said, Tarantino, good. I encourage you. Please do that. Please. All right. Now that that's said.
Me and Jesse worked on a little bit of a list. Jesse, if you would like to pull the list open. There is, I guess, one of the things that this movie is about, largely, and so this is just this is like science, I guess. We did
hard
this
science.
Is hard science. We went through
using the scientific method.
The whole method, all the steps. So
The whole method.
you know,
Or the beakers.
The idea is playing a superhero movie legitimately a curse. Or is this just it happened to two people and now everybody says it happened?
Yeah, so did it like ruin someone's career because it made them get typecast, right?
Yeah, and so
does it create problems or does it?
There's obviously notable exceptions. Jesse, you want to read off the notable exceptions?
What do you mean? Wait. Do you mean ruining or like it doesn't affect them?
Who it helps or it doesn't really ruin their career?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I kind of want to read.
No, you have to do the exceptions first because it's much shorter.
The exceptions. Dave Bautista, Guardians kind of made his career.
Yeah, that's
His
true.
mainstream career.
Definitely.
Christian Bale, he's pretty much fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Invincible.
It made him a household name
Yeah.
too. So
Yep.
Joaquin Phoenix, superhero movies were never really his thing anyway.
Untouchable.
Untouchable also.
yeah.
Andrew, or go ahead.
No, he's in an Ari Aster movie this year. So
Yep.
Andrew Garfield hurt a little bit maybe after Spider-Man, but
But
he was kind of
fine.
He's
He-
bouncing.
yeah,
he's
it
bouncing
pushed
back
it.
now.
He bounced back hard. He's in a fucking Scorsese movie.
He was
great-
in Silence.
He's doing
Oh,
great.
he's so
Yeah.
good in Silence.
He's
That's
also
on my
just
list.
beloved in general. Like,
Yeah.
people just really like him.
Fantastic actor.
Who else?
Chris Pratt, again, Guardians kind of made his career.
I mean, whether you love him or hate him,
It
he's
made-
gotten
it made-
bigger.
yeah.
yeah,
he's
he's
got
a
more
household
jobs.
name.
Definitely true.
J.K. Simmons, like untouchable.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Robert Pattinson, I guess jury's
Robert
still kind of out.
Pattinson,
Jury's
yeah.
out. but-
Jury's still
Jury's
kind
out,
of
but
out,
I'm
but
gonna
he's going to be in a
assume-
Bong Joon-ho movie.
Yeah.
I'm so fucking excited for that movie. By the way.
Willem Dafoe, again, untouchable.
Yeah, untouchable. Yeah.
Jack Nicholson, untouchable.
Untouchable, yeah.
Gene Hackman, pretty much untouchable. George Clooney, untouchable. Josh Brolin, he's
That-
God.
Oh
now.
no, he's on here twice.
Yeah, 'cause he was in,
Thanos and Jonah Hex.
Yeah.
Movies.
We
Also,
stood
Cable.
both
Cable too.
And
yeah,
he's
and
full
Cable.
Cable.
He is Cable.
I'm assuming Val Kilmer's on this list as well.
Somewhere on it.
His post Batman career is very
Actually, you do have
dicey.
a point. Actually,
That's why I
But
said he's
I didn't-
somewhere on
say-
the list.
I didn't put
So-
him on that.
So
I
who
didn't-
else? Who else? Continue the notable exceptions. 'cause-
Two more.
Margot Robbie,
yeah.
obviously she's doing great.
Yeah.
And then Ryan Reynolds was hurt by Green Lantern a little bit, but then Deadpool
Deadpool
happened.
actually revitalized his career.
Well, yeah, and now he's just Deadpool and everything.
Yeah. Okay. Real
Yeah,
quick,
sadly.
there are a couple people that I think should be on that list, on the notable exceptions, but aren't. Chris Evans. No, I don't know what the. We've had this argument before.
See, I don't
Yeah,
know.
you're wrong.
What are you talking? He's literally had a decent career
He's
outside
had
of
Knives
it.
Out, which is genuinely good, and then The Gray Man.
Okay, that's not all he's had. You're talking about Bong Joon-ho
I think-
earlier. What
I think-
Bong Joon-ho
Oh,
movie
shit, he
starred
is-
Chris Evans?
Yeah, he was
is
in that
Snowpiercer.
while he was in the Marvel
I think-
Okay,
movies.
but the thing is, it didn't
Post-Marvel
ruin. But it
movies.
didn't ruin his career.
I
The argument
think-
is that,
I
that
think-
Marvel ruined your career.
I think with
No,
Chris,
I
I think
he
no.
wouldn't have gotten the role with Bong Joon-ho.
I
if
think
it
with
wasn't-
Chris Evans, the jury's still out.
Yeah,
And
well,
we'll just have to wait on his career for
no,
a bit.
here's the thing. What year did Snowpiercer came out? Like
2014, 2013.
2013, 2014.
yeah.
See, I'm thinking Chris Evans, yes, he was already Captain America by that point. But what I'm thinking about more is the 2015 to 2020 version. That's the Chris Evans that is in everybody's mind. And all I've seen him in is, besides Knives Out, is generic action movies.
Yeah, he's become typecast.
I will give you
Yeah.
another one here, also named Chris Pine.
I don't think we have Chris Pine on this
Who
list.
did he play?
Yeah, he was Steve
Yeah,
Trevor.
Steve Trevor.
Wonder Woman.
He
Also
was in-
Spider-Man
Oh, shit.
and Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, I'd say
Yeah.
Chris
Yeah.
Pine deserves to be on that list.
Chris Pine has a really good career
Yeah.
outside of
He's
superhero
great.
movies.
I
So
I think we had a thing about sidekicks, but I mean J.K.
Well,
Simmons.
yeah,
is
let's
on
say
this
J.K.
list, so
Simmons
yeah.
is on there. Also,
I also want to say Jerry Stallone and Chris Hemsworth as well.
who knows? Because
he's
yeah.
not on either side of the list.
yeah, it's hard to tell because he's had decent things in between.
And he
but
also
it's-
didn't have a huge career before.
No, he
Thor,
was like a
so
no one.
yeah.
He was essentially a no one going into Thor.
If anything, it's gotten him more work. But then you could argue,
Like
well,
he's in
Is
movies
it,
like
is it work of any quality?
he's in
Like
movies
Black
like
Hat,
he's in
there's
movies like
that.
Black Hat, which isn't good. Extraction, which I haven't seen, but he was okay.
I like Extraction fine.
So
All right,
let's
so
let's
yeah, let's
go
continue.
into the other
Yeah,
list.
let's continue. With
If
the
I come
list.
up with
Alright.
any exceptions, by the way, I will mention
Also,
them.
I'm sure some people on the other list you'll disagree with.
Well, yeah, but also, like I said, I still think Snowpiercer for during and then Knives Out for after. I think Knives Out alone is enough of a performance and role to say that Chris Evans does not belong or belongs on notable exceptions.
I just
think.
remember seeing him coked out at the premiere of one of the Avengers.
Yeah, and he
movies.
did, dude.
I know. It's just like you see that and you go, you
If-
just don't
okay.
seem like you're.
I
This seems like a.
I will eat my words if Chris Evans puts out a fucking fantastic performance in
I
the
bet
next
he will.
5
I bet-
years.
no,
Uh,
I bet
I'm
he
talking
will.
like not a dumb action movie, not some dumb fucking blockbuster, like a legitimately
Yeah,
fan
no.
fucking.
So you're gonna
No.
so yet again.
I will eat my words.
No.
Wait, hold it. So you're going to still discredit Knives Out on that? You just call that a
I
fluke?
like Knives Out. I like Knives Out.
He's
but
good
he,
in that.
He is good in
He is
that.
a big part of why. No spoilers. He's a big part of why that movie is amazing. His
He is
performance.
very good in Knives Out, and I do like Knives Out. But yeah, time stands to see if that's a fluke or not.
You are right. Yeah. Jerry
Okay,
Stallone- let's move on from Chris
so,
Evans.
So for the record, this much is the people who
You might want to show the camera
yeah,
that.
this much the list is people who weren't hurt. This is the rest of it. I'm just going to read them off rapid fire, and you guys just interject. Michael Keaton, Ben Affleck, twice. Ray Fisher, Ezra Miller, Heath Ledger, Chadwick Boseman, Jeremy Renner, Scarlett Johansson, Chris Evans, twice. Bradley
Hold
Cooper,
on,
Christopher Eccleston,
No,
Mickey
no,
Rourke,
wait,
Tessa
no,
Thompson,
no,
Paul
no.
Bettany, Elizabeth
Jesse,
Olsen.
Jesse, you said we could interject. Stop for a second.
Heath
I got
Ledger-
carried away.
Keith Ledger
yeah.
died.
Yeah.
so-
Ledger died, and so did Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah.
I know. It fucking killed him. It literally killed him.
You can't. Well, okay, not Chadwick, but he had fucking prostate cancer or whatever. You can't.
I know.
You can't
And
say
so-
that the role killed
No,
him.
to be
also,
fair,
he was set
no,
up to have like
no.
a pretty big career outside
to
of it.
be
too.
fair,
It was
I put them
pancreatic
on the
cancer,
I
I
put
think.
them
Yeah,
on the
pancreatic-
list.
yeah, there we go,
I put
pancreatic
them on the
cancer.
list, and Jesse immediately said, "That's not fair." And I said, "They fucking
Yeah.
died."
So please start from Chadwick Boseman. You rapid fire, but don't like that. Let
Okay.
us pause it and go in if we need to.
Chadwick Boseman, Jeremy Renner, Scarlett Johansson, Chris Evans, twice. Bradley Cooper, Christopher Eccleston, Mickey Rourke, Tessa Thompson.
Wait, Christopher Eccleston, what?
Doctor Who.
quit doing.
He
movies.
quit doing movies after
He
Thor: The
quit
Dark World.
doing movies.
Oh, he was in Thor: The Dark
Yes,
World.
he
Yeah.
quit.
I forgot he was in that.
Everybody
He
does.
doesn't do
Oh my
movies anymore
God.
now.
Because that
Yeah,
movie
he
was
did.
bad,
He
which
did.
says a lot because he was also in G.I. Joe.
He was,
and that
yeah.
movie is fucking terrible.
And
Side note: what a shame that Hollywood could never give him a good role because
Because he's
so
fantastic.
he's such an amazing.
he was great in 28 Days
Shakespearean
Later.
actor. Like he's phenomenal. My
Anyway.
favorite Doctor from Doctor Who. Continue.
Yeah, moving on. Yeah.
I do actually like Christopher Eccleston as Destro, even if that movie.
That's okay.
No,
Continue.
He was perfect casting.
Mickey Rourke, Tessa Thompson, Paul Bettany, Elizabeth Olsen, Sam Raimi.
Wait. Mickey Rourke.
Sam
That's Iron
Raimi.
Man 2. But did he do The Wrestler after Iron
Wrestler
Man 2?
was 2009.
Oh shit. Okay.
Whoa,
No, no,
why,
no.
why is Sam Raimi
Sam
in
Raimi's
there?
on the list because he's only directed 2 movies since Spider-Man
That was
3.
that was his choice though.
Okay, and one of them is dog shit, and the other one is okay.
And the one that's okay is a fucking superhero
It's also a
movie.
superhero
And the
movie.
one that dog shit, the one that's dog shit was made
Wait,
by the company
what year did
that
Drag
makes
Me to Hell
superhero
come out?
movies.
2009.
Oh no, he did do
Oh,
Drag
fuck,
Me to
okay.
Hell.
2009. Yeah.
You know what? I put Sam Raimi on there as a joke anyway.
Yeah,
Drag
Sam,
Me to Hell.
Sam Raimi's got an
Yeah.
asterisk next to his name anyway.
Okay. From Sam Raimi. Continue. Sorry.
Jared Leto,
No, I agree. I
Twice.
agree.
Gwyneth
Oh,
Paltrow,
twice, yeah.
Gwyneth Paltrow, John Favreau, Corey Stoll, Robert Redford.
John Favreau
John-
also twice.
Yeah, John
Yeah,
Favreau.
yeah.
Yeah, no,
'Cause he
I
had Chef
fucking
and
forgot.
everything.
And fucking Daredevil.
and Daredevil.
It was Foggy
yeah.
Nelson and
So-
Ben Affleck
Well,
one.
okay, hold
That
on.
didn't hurt him though.
Well, yeah, hold on. I don't know. Like, are you talking about as an actor, or are you talking about as a filmmaker or creator?
Both.
Okay, I'd say as a filmmaker, like you can
He
say
did
what
Chef.
he did. Well, also like
Zathura?
The Mandalorian. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like he's the Star like
Elf.
I've
Like,
got my
Elf was-
issues with Disney Star Wars.
Maybe Elf was
but
the same year.
and I got a lot of. I think Jon Favreau as a director and as a filmmaker does not get enough credit sometimes because his movies, a lot of them are mediocre. But you got to understand, a lot of the tech and like the actual filmmaking, the technical filmmaking, is groundbreaking and changes the industry. Also, Elf, but like it does
like-
change the industry. So like,
I like his directed movies up to Chef.
yeah,
Everything after that.
yeah. Well, it's like
Yeah.
I like The Mandalorian. I think that the first season, especially, is really good, and so I think like his career is not destroyed by superhero movies.
I mean,
continue-
it's not destroyed,
let-
but it is just kind of all he's doing.
Let me
is this corporate
continue.
stuff.
Well, I mean, but
you have-
know,
you have-
he's still pushing the envelope tech wise
You,
though.
you have Corey Stoll. You have Robert Redford, who retired shortly after.
Yeah, so that
that doesn't.
okay, that one doesn't really.
Robert Redford was a legend.
And then-
Yeah, I don't
and-
think you can
and-
say it ruined his
and-
career. He's
well,
like 95.
he-
Wait. Didn't he do that? Didn't he direct
Yeah,
that one movie
no,
right
he
after?
did.
No,
All
he
is
did.
Yeah.
lost. Dude.
I
he
know,
didn't direct
but-
it. He
but-
was just in
sorry,
it.
sorry.
It's,
yeah.
it's extra funny when I read the next guy off the list, who's William Hurt, who fucking died.
I
Yeah,
love you,
this-
wifey.
So
There's a lot of
th-
people who just died.
I know,
Yeah.
I know. I have to include them on the list.
It's the movie that killed William Hurt.
Then you have Kate Mara, Miles Teller.
So the last thing William Hurt was in was Doctor Who.
Weird.
Yeah, he played the wartime doctor, and he did a really good job. It was
You have-
actually, I'm not even kidding you. It was a tear-jerking, beautiful performance.
Wait, wasn't that John Hurt?
Oh, that's John Hurt, not William
Yeah.
Hurt.
Where-
Fuck me. John
where-
Hurt's also
so-
dead.
so-
R.I.P. to a legend.
Yeah.
R.I.P. John.
Well,
Yeah.
William Hurt's different.
Kate
Yeah.
Mara, Miles Teller, Jamie Bell, Toby Kebbell, Michael B. Jordan, kind of.
Jury's still out on that one, I would
yeah,
say.
Jury's
still out.
He's
We'll
really
see,
good.
but I mean, he's poised to do Superman.
Hugh
so-
Jackman, kind of. James McAvoy.
Hugh Jackman, I would say. Yeah.
Huge
Yeah.
Jack. Well,
He hasn't done much of anything.
Greatest
kinda.
Showman. I mean, I don't like Greatest Showman, but like it kind of.
That's what I mean. It's kind of.
It's kind of like he's definitely getting big roles that people do give him critical acclaim
But he also
for.
played Blackbeard in that shitty Pan movie. That shitty Peter Pan movie.
well,
He smells like Teen Spirit.
you got James McAvoy, Sophie Turner, Maisie Williams.
James McAvoy would be for.
I forgot. They were both.
Glass would be the last one. Has he done anything since that?
I don't think so.
Oh, damn.
Not
oh wait,
especially
no,
good.
he didn't. No, I heard great things about this movie, and I don't know if it's. Good
Oh
or
yeah.
not.
No, I know the movie you're talking about.
I'm gonna
Okay.
smack through the rest of this list. I don't think too many of them are too arguable. You got Sophie Turner, Maisie Williams. Like, did they have that much of careers before they were in the X-Men
Yeah,
movies?
to be fair,
Game
I
of-
mean, yeah,
Game of Thrones and
but
that.
like yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Then you got Evan Peters, kind of twice. But I mean, he's kind of in stuff. Also, did he really have that much of a career before?
yeah.
Also, he was
American
actually
Horror
in
Story.
Three of them. He was
Yeah.
in WandaVision, Kick-Ass, and X-Men.
Yeah.
And then you have Brie Larson. just
Tragic.
Absolutely
Yeah,
tragic.
that is it. And that one, I don't even think it's the movie that did it to her. That one is the reaction to her
Yep.
being Captain Marvel.
Which
I think
is a
it's
shame 'cause she was-
partially that, but
which is a
also
shame 'cause
just
she
the
was-
Hollywood machine ate her up.
Yeah, she was such a like a very
Promising,
interesting,
amazing
very
actress.
interesting
and
actress.
she's a child actor. She's been acting. She's
Yeah.
been in stuff since she was like 9.
Yeah.
Then you have Mads Mikkelsen, kind of like I know he's been in a couple things, but the last
He's been
big
doing
thing,
indie films.
the last big thing he was in after Doctor Strange was Harry Potter.
Hey, David, you've got a movie that he's been in since then. that you
It's
really
a
like.
it's a movie called Another Round. It is a I think it's a Danish movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's from it's a very good movie. Very
It's the
A-
drinking movie. Right?
Aaron Taylor,
yeah.
Aaron Taylor Johnson's on the list, but only once, and that's only for Quicksilver. He's not on the list for Kick-Ass because Kick-Ass only made his career.
It actually made his
But
career,
he's
yeah.
going to be in Craven the Hunter.
That,
So we'll see.
honestly, we'll see. And I'm going to be real. He is an amazing choice.
I'm
It's
interested.
an interesting choice.
And I
sure.
love Craven the Hunter, too.
All right, I'm gonna keep going down the list. Jesse Eisenberg, Henry Cavill, George Reeves.
Okay,
All right.
yeah.
We talked about George Reeves earlier.
But yeah, George.
I mean, just very sad.
Wait, Jesse Eisenberg. Oh, he hasn't really done anything
Yep,
since
yep.
that either.
Henry
so-
Cavill's in TV
Oh yeah.
now.
By the way,
but-
for anyone who doesn't know about George Reeves, I actually did not know until earlier. So, David, do you want to go ahead and tell a quick story about
Yeah, I
George
won't-
Reeves, the
I won't.
first actor who played Superman?
I won't get into the full details, but I highly recommend you look it up if you're interested in true crime.
is it the story with the kid?
No, that
no.
That's something else.
No, that's something else. So that's a
Oh
very
no,
interesting
it's
story.
the
in itself.
murder. It's the
Well, yeah, because George Reeves may or may not have committed suicide.
yeah.
The official diagnosis, or by the LAPD at the time, was that he committed suicide. But there's some very suspect kind of details around his supposed suicide that, if you're interested in true crime and stuff like that, I highly recommend you look
Okay,
up.
so he goes into the dead category. Chris O'Donnell, Alicia Silverstone, Halle Berry,
What was
Jennifer.
Alicia Silverstone?
Batman and
Batgirl,
Robin.
That's
Yep.
right.
Yep. Halle Berry, Jennifer Garner, Colin Farrell, kind of.
He bounced back a little
He-
bit.
Off
Yeah.
of Daredevil.
Internationally,
Oh,
bounced back.
He's also playing Penguin now, too.
Well, also, In Bruges is such an amazing movie that almost made it to my list.
Yeah, but it is technically like an Irish or Scottish
the
British
lobster-
movie.
I don't think that this is. I thought the list was just their careers. I don't.
Yeah,
think it's,
no, it is.
Yeah. Also, The Lobster.
The Lobster's
is
on my
phenomenal.
list.
No.
It's-
He
I actually don't like The
absolutely
Lobster.
bounced back.
But
I just
you're
mean
talking about now
it
that
caused
he-
a problem for him.
Well, yes, and also now that he's Penguin, what's going to happen?
He's in
afterwards?
a much different phase of his career now.
So you have, I put this guy on here, Matt Bomer. He's the only superhero thing he's actually in is Doom Patrol, but he was supposed to play Batman and Superman, and he was lined up for multiple projects, and they never got off the ground, and he said no to jobs because he was assured.
He-
that
Well,
this
but
would
what
I
is
was-
funny
I
is what
think he
remade
was
his
also-
career was Doom Patrol.
he
is
was
like-
also, I think he was between him and Henry Cavill to play Superman.
and to be fair,
originally, too.
what ruined his career?
He's also in
well,
line
they-
to play Batman.
Yeah. So what's interesting though, I will say about him is that it was what ruined his career or what made his career. It was actually the reverse. It wasn't superhero films that ruined his career. It was actually what remade his career, brought it back. Was Doom Patrol, and what ruined his career was being an openly gay man.
Yeah,
in,
no,
in,
yeah,
the, in
yeah.
the early 2000s, when it was not accepted. Then people stopped casting, and he got blacklisted.
We got Lupita Nyong'o. I'd say she counts.
She did. She's done Us since though.
Name something else though.
She is great
Name
now.
something else.
Jesse, why? What's the
No,
obsession?
no.
I feel like that.
A lot of these actors are still working, so the jury's still out on these.
That's enough for me. Mark Ruffalo. That's one's tragic as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's
such a great actor.
Well, okay, so that's also hard to say because he's still currently playing Hulk.
Yeah.
Right. But in the middle of playing Hulk, he's also done things like Spotlight. While he's
Yeah.
still in the MCU, he's
Yeah.
still getting good roles and saying yes to good roles and being able to do it.
I feel like I
And so
haven't
this-
seen him
this
in a
goes-
good movie.
He was also
Yeah, I
great.
haven't seen
him in
he was
anything
also
good since
he was also
Spotlight,
but
wait,
like-
Foxcatcher. was great
Foxcatcher,
in
yeah.
that movie,
But
too.
like what? But
He's in Foxcatcher?
Oh, is that the one with Steve Carell?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
fucking
Fuck.
completely
And
forgot that
Channing
movie
Tatum.
there's
existed.
and I implore you, I can't think of it right now. There are other movies since then that are like good indie films that he's in. This goes back to what I was saying about Chris Evans earlier. That like some of these, it's hard to say because it's like. They're doing this.
Oh,
they're
yeah.
doing this
No.
while they're doing other things. Some of these actors are able to, because of the MCU, are freed up the time
Well-
to take movies at a loss or not as high of a rate because they're
In-
getting so much money from
In
Disney.
some cases.
In some
yeah,
cases,
Elizabeth
yeah.
Olsen can't take roles
Yeah.
because she's
Yeah,
so
so,
locked
well,
into
that's
the
yeah,
MCU.
yeah, no, that's
she-
fucked. I know. That's
But
like,
the main reason I have Mark Ruffalo on the list was because just he was in so many good things, and then in the past 5 years he's just
there's
he's Hulk all
also
the
there was
time
the
now.
other John Carney movie that was 2013, 2014, I think, that had Keira Knightley. He was really good in that movie.
But then I also have Edward Norton on the list. Not so much because it hurt his career. His career was already as damaged as it was after Hulk, but working on such a mainstream movie and causing the same amount of problems that he does on that set definitely
he's
made a bigger
relegated
stink.
to indie films now
Yeah.
or auteur director.
And then I
films.
had Eric Bana on the list just to maintain continuity with the other two.
Yeah, what has Eric Bana done since 2003's Hulk?
I have Adam West, legitimately very tough on his career.
Very
after
tough on his
Batman.
career.
It's like, did it immortalize him? Yes.
Yeah,
As
well, for
Batman.
him, it's the same relationship that Leonard Nimoy had with Spock.
Yeah.
Couldn't get jobs for the longest time, but ultimately, later in life, just embraced the fact that that's what he was. Or
Yeah.
like Birdman.
I have Jessica Alba on the list. I also have Tobey Maguire and Tom Holland. The reason Tom Holland is on the list, I know he is a
Yeah.
good actor and his career will absolutely go places, but he is actively
He's
being
being
typecast
typecast
as
right
a
now.
child.
Yeah,
Yes.
he's just playing
Well,
Spider-Man.
yeah,
in
literally
all of his
one of the
movies
most
now.
one of the best roles he did recently was very against type. What was that movie?
Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, it was the church movie about
the devil or something like that.
Yeah, that movie was great, and he
Do
gives
you
an
have
amazing performance.
Do you have Christopher Reeve on there?
We do have Christopher Reeve. On
Okay, what ruined his career was
Yeah,
a horse.
It was the
Well,
It was a
no,
horse.
No,
yeah,
even
but no,
before
no,
that.
no. He still was not.
Okay,
getting roles
true. He
'cause
was.
of
Yeah, no,
Superman.
you're right.
Like,
You're right.
He
you're
talked.
right.
He talked about it for years. How playing Superman made it difficult for him to
his
get roles.
biggest role after Superman was Rear Window, which he only got because of the accident.
True. Who was Okay, so who did you say a second ago?
Was it Jessica Alba?
Jessica
Tobey Maguire?
Okay, Tobey Maguire. He's also just a piece of shit.
Yeah.
So like, I don't even know if that one is Spider-Man. I think it's just Hollywood being like enough people in Hollywood being done with him.
Yeah.
It just so happens to line up, honestly, with Spider-Man.
Robert Downey Jr. is about to make a comeback, but I do have him on the list because the only thing he's done
Post Iron Man.
is Doolittle.
Yeah, no, I mean,
literally the
that
only
one's
thing he's done.
understandable.
and even during Iron Man,
Well,
did nothing.
no,
else.
apparently,
Yeah,
have you guys
yeah.
heard of All-Star Weekend?
No.
Oh, it's a Jamie Foxx movie that was filmed in 2016 that's still unreleased, and Robert Downey Jr. has a bit part in the film as what is only described as a Mexican.
Oh my God. Oh, so another person that I think is important to mention. So you mentioned her, but I do want to talk about it for just like a second. Just a little blurb. You said Jessica Alba, and that one is. I think she's a perfect example because it's the tragedy of that.
Yeah.
Because like she had already been going through like she wasn't a child actor. I don't think, but she started when she was arguably she was like 14 when she started.
She
I
was a
think.
model, I think.
Yeah. So like she's been in the industry a long time, and she's a pretty woman, and
Mm-hmm.
she was being cast as very type. You know, she is the girl next door. She is that. And that's all she ever really did. She's in a great horror movie that I really like, Idle Hands, but that's all her role was.
She's an she's an Idle Hand.
She's the girl in Idle Hands. She's the love interest.
For some reason, I thought you were gonna say the Eye.
No, but you know, then she you know, she did the Fantastic Four movies, and she said openly like, yeah, those movies ruined my career. They like made me feel like such a piece of meat. No one respected me. The role was written by the second movie, like the first movie, yeah, she got casted, but by the second movie, it was basically being written for her because she was already Sue Storm, and they were writing scenes that are just so degrading for her. And
Apparently-
afterwards, no one treated her with. And she realized at that point on that no one in Hollywood's gonna respect me. So she like retired. She's back to acting now. She's like in some cop show. But yeah, she retired for like 10 years from acting.
Apparently, her and the director of those two Fantastic Four movies got into a lot of fights on set about the writing for her character.
Yeah.
To move forward, I have Shaq on the list. That's a joke.
Yeah.
He's a joke. He's a joke one. But here's two real ones, and they're very connected. Terrence Howard and Don Cheadle. Don Cheadle is a phenomenal actor, and I'm sure he's done other stuff besides War Machine. But he was like one of the biggest acclaimed
From the
actors.
90s
Yeah,
to the
pre-
to like
Hotel Rwanda. There was a movie where he played Miles Davis.
Pre.
there's a movie
And same with Terrence Howard. Terrence Howard's amazing.
there's a
actor.
movie where he played Sammy Davis Jr.
Pre-War
Rat Pack
Machine.
movie.
And
Miles Davis movie.
Yeah, he directed that. That was a
Really?
Yeah, he directed and starred. That was a huge passion project for him.
Yeah,
also-
pre-War Machine. There's a movie
He
he's
played
in.
Kung Fu Kenny.
There's a movie he's in called Maniac. He's fantastic. in
I
it.
have the last few, which is Taika Waititi, not his directing career. We'll see about Thor. His latest Thor. Just kidding. But for his acting career in Green Lantern.
No, I disagree
That's
with
true.
that.
Well, it just didn't do anything for it.
It took him a few years to kind of.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
have a
you know,
Hollywood career
he
after
just
that,
did.
but-
When you talking about acting, he just did. Our
Pirate
Fight Means
Show,
Death.
yeah.
Yeah, no.
he does an amazing performance
Absolutely,
as,
but I
Edward
mean,
Teach.
he was.
He's talking about immediately
But also,
after.
isn't he
he
like
was-
a producer or like
he
a
was-
director?
Oh yeah, but
No,
like,
he was trying to get into comedic acting roles
Oh, yeah,
in
true.
the 2010s, and
Yeah.
Green Lantern just killed it.
killed it,
And
yeah.
it's just like at that point he had only directed his first film, which was The Boy. I
Yeah,
think.
and it took until Hunt for the Wilder People.
I
Essentially,
think he
Well,
had
I
done
think
Eagle
what we-
versus Shark at that point as well,
Well,
which was
oh,
2006.
What We
Yeah.
Do in the
Yeah.
Shadows didn't come out till 2014.
Yeah.
So
I-
and
Yeah.
that was his, because that was also wow, what fuck with the Flight of the Valkyries? Is that
Flight of the Conchords.
Flight of the Conchords.
Flight of the
I'm
Conchords, yeah.
stupid. Sorry.
He was,
That was a collaboration
a-
with them too.
Yeah.
I do also
Then I-
generally think his directing career has gotten worse since Thor, but again,
I-
jury's
What?
out on that.
I mean, it's hard. Okay, real quick aside on his directing. I mean, I think Jojo Rabbit is a phenomenal fucking movie.
I think it's good.
Incredibly well done, incredibly well directed. I think
It ain't hot for the will to people, my man.
Okay, I mean, yeah, but that's his best movie. It's not like it's not like Jojo Rabbit's a bad movie. It's a phenomenal movie.
Jesse doesn't like it.
Yeah, I don't like Jojo Rabbit.
Okay, you're anti-Semitic. you
I
Fuck
saw-
off.
I still think he's-
No, yeah, you are right, Randy. I think Jojo Rabbit is good, but I think generally Jesse does have a point. I don't think Jojo Rabbit is as good as what we do in the shadows.
And the new Thor is.
Well,
Yeah, and the new
yeah,
Thor
yeah,
is
well,
just
yeah.
bad.
So like,
The
so
new Thor
the,
is
so the thing
easily his worst
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
movie.
it is, and I'll say what I was gonna say is the addendum to that. I will say. It's a jury still out thing.
Yeah,
because
yeah. No,
is
I
it
agree.
that he's now worse as a director, or is it that like he was contractually obligated to do another Thor movie, and his heart wasn't in wanting to do another Thor movie
Yeah.
anymore,
Yeah.
and he just
Jury-
had to do one?
The jury is still out. I will say it ain't looking good.
These two kind of barely count, but I'll go ahead and throw them out there. Tim Roth and Sam Rockwell. Sam Rockwell after Iron Man 2. He was in the Poltergeist remake, which is horrible.
Well, he's
three billboards.
three
He's in-
billboards
yeah, he's
outside
in 3
Edinburgh,
billboards.
Missouri.
That's amazing.
Mr. Right is a solid enough.
I just
white
feel like
get into
collar.
that, Jesse.
I feel like he just could have become a star if Iron Man
Well, I think
that had played out
I think
better.
with someone like Sam Rockwell, that was kind of a choice by him.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
He's probably outside of something like Poltergeist, which is
Yeah.
very weird thing in his career. He has chosen to really sort of
He's
do
a
these.
character actor.
Yeah, he's chosen to be kind of character actor parts in these projects that he
And
really likes.
The last guy on
yeah.
the list, the only times 3, is Randy's gonna be mad at me for this. Mark Strong.
Times 3.
Yeah,
Times
yeah,
three.
Green Lantern, Shazam, and what else? Is he in?
Kick-Ass.
Kingsman.
Or Kick-Ass?
Kick-Ass.
And he's also in Kingsman. That's 4
Yeah.
comic book movies.
But Kingsman he's sort of playing out of type. The reason
Yeah.
I have him on there for Kick-Ass, Shazam, and Green Lantern is because he's almost playing. Well, not Green Lantern, but
He's the tough bad guy. He's
mob boss.
He's the mob boss. That's what he kind of was. He's bald and he's intimidating.
And Green Lantern just
And
legitimately
I would
hurt his
honestly,
career.
I would say that like Kingsman, what it's done since Kingsman to his career, it's kind of changed his type. He now gets.
He gets to play nice people.
Because he's so lovable in Kingsman
Yeah.
that like that's like as Merlin, that's all he plays
Oh,
now.
so-
is like people love him as that. Funny enough, I've never seen them in the same room, or I've never seen the two of them in the same room. You can't convince me, but I think Lance Hendrickson and Mark Strong are the same person. I think one of them it's either
No.
Mark Strong doing blackface or it's Lance Hendrickson doing whiteface. I don't know which one it is.
Lance
I care not.
Henriksen?
They're both white.
Yeah, they're both
Not
white.
Lance Hendrickson. What's his?
You mean Lance Reddick?
Lance Reddick. It's a similar name.
Lance.
Sue
I was about
me.
to say Lance
Lance
Henriksen is-
Hendrickson and Lance Reddick. Please, to be fair, are those not similar names?
No, they're similar names. It's just funny because
just
I'm imagining Lance Henriksen.
Yeah,
and
so
I'm
sorry,
imagining Lance
sorry,
Reddick.
I'm
sorry.
imagining Lance
okay,
Henriksen in
okay.
blackface.
Lance Reddick. Tell
gonna-
me that Lance Reddick and Mark Strong don't just look like color palette
They don't.
swaps
They
of
don't
the
at
same
all. They don't at all. You're tripping.
What
Yeah,
the fuck
no,
are you talking
Mark
about?
Strong's got a much wider like jaw.
Yeah.
You guys are losing your fucking mind. But also,
You're losing your mind.
Fuck you.
You're the one on crack,
Fuck you.
Randy.
Fuck you. I'm going to kill you in your sleep.
Ultimately, I think
Okay.
Mark Strong is a good one to end on because he has 3 comic book movies that damaged his career and one that helped
A little bit.
bolster it up.
Help bolster it back up again. Now I gotta say,
Shazam
that-
wasn't damaging at all. Shazam is fun.
Shazam is great. I love it.
I like Shazam. If
but
you're
you
mad
know-
about the Fulci reference in the Shazam 2 trailer, you should fucking.
Okay, all
You
right.
know, in this Birdman episode, we talked a lot about men, but not a lot of ladies. Speaking of, let me tell you, next episode, we are talking about the movie. Are you ready? Lady Bird.
No relation, no affiliation. With
No
the
relation or affiliation at all.
Birdman, Lady Bird.
Yeah, we went from an MCU movie to a movie that's inspired by MCU movies called Birdman to now a movie that's unrelated, also a critical darling breakout movie, called Lady Bird. Completely unrelated, but we're going to be going into that. Hey, I know we have some technical difficulties and you're not seeing us on screen right now. Unfortunately, our cameras got full up while we were recording. We did not realize that until like near the end. So I apologize for that. But this is where I'm going to say, the video version is available on YouTube. Normally, you'll see us the whole time. This time, you only see us for part of it.
You'll just see like a little animated version
but
of us.
please, if you please subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube. Hit the bell notification so you're notified whenever we post a new video. As well, comment down below. Tell us what you think Birdman is about, and what is the unexpected virtue of ignorance? What do you think it's actually all about? I want to hear your thoughts on that. Also, is there any actors you think's careers were ruined by superhero films? That's actually a good thing to put in the comments down below.
Or any actors whose careers were helped.
Or helped, yes. Please, we had some technical difficulties as well last week. We are not posting that episode. We're probably going to re-record it. Either way, it's archived. But we are switching to a weekly format. It is starting going forward every Saturday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the YouTube, on Apple Music, Amazon Music, iTunes, and Spotify. The audio version will be available the next day on Sunday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please go drop a 5-star review for those. It helps us out a lot. We will see you all next week.
Bye.
See you then.